Mind and Brain Collection Ebook 1. Secrets of the 1001st. Complete Answers to Existential Questions. And The Meaning of Life. A New Brain-Mind Power. Lemberg, the Pop Philosopher. This ebook is free of charge. Invitation to distribute. You are invited to distribute this ebook freely as long as such distribution is totally free and its contents unaltered in any way. Secrets of the 1001st. The daily events of life offer a mix of feelings you can choose from to make you happy or miserable. It is just like the air you breathe, which is a mix of hot and cold air that can be separated to heat or cool your home. Smell and taste what you eat and compare with the output. Your physical body is bright enough to retain only the parts that suit it best. Time has come for your conscious intelligence to realize that good and bad dwell at the same address. A large part of your brain remains unexplored and untamed. More complex than a multispin particle, your brain must be turned inside out and upside down thousands of times before revealing its full potential. Happiness and unhappiness are two sides of the same coin, both present in every aspect of life. The question here is, how can you shun away unhappiness and make yours happiness surrounding you each day of your life? Secrets of the 1001st invites you to discover one of the countless hidden facets of your personal world. It urges you to walk into the mirror and visit a universe of affluence that is all yours and quite within reach. Mind-boggling, flabbergasting, odd. And this one as the spine. The spine, Secrets of the 1001st. Complete Answers to Existential Questions. Lemberg, the Pop Philosopher. About some words and expressions used in this book. Universe. The word universe with a capital U is intended to represent the whole creation. It comprises all possible physical and non-physical elements and phenomena. The same word with a lowercase u has a more limited meaning. It usually refers to the material universe, including the humanity and excluding the mythical and spiritual aspect of creation. Nature. Nature as in nature or Mother Nature has a connotation different from the word nature without a capital first letter. God. God with a capital G usually conveys the idea of a supreme intelligent being governing all existences. Depending on the context, it can have a religious connotation or not. 1001st and Brain. In this context, mind or mind usually associates with an abstract intelligence including the brain. More often than otherwise the word brain will refer to the organic composition sheltering the human intelligence. Subconscious. Subconscious mind, inner intelligence, inner body, inner associate and like terms are often used as synonyms without any discrimination. The context should always guide the reader, as the above definition will suffer many exceptions and could lead to confusion when interpreted too strictly. Secrets of the 1001st. Complete Answers to Existential Questions. Preface. Your life must be dedicated to the task of finding your point of harmony with all other elements of the creation. Happiness lies in no other place. No creation of the universe can exist as a fully independent entity. Every form, whatever its composition or substance, exists as part of a larger system that is part of the whole. One cannot always take and never give back. If you wish to make happiness yours, you must first spread its seeds around. These will then grow, ripe, and bounce back to you the boomerang way. If you're too stingy and mean to act generously, happiness will elude you for the duration of your life. This book will guide you through the labyrinth that will take you to the destination you must reach to dutifully complete your mission on planet Earth and make the whole voyage a happy and fruitful adventure. Secrets of the Mind is also used as a prerequisite to the enhancement of the mind-brain combination. The reshuffling of the mind that is proposed throughout this work will pave the way for a real physical rewiring of the brain with the goal of largely improving and enriching one's life. Before you get to the how to part and get a brain lift, I urge you to proceed with some reorganization of your mind, reject some prejudicial ideas and make room for many concepts you will have to scrutinize carefully with an open mind. Some views will be new to you, others will seem very odd, perhaps even a bit disturbing. Think about them, mull them over and over, as these new notions carry an unlimited capacity to improve your life on this planet and beyond. Because there is no one else like you in this world, these exercises will allow you to blend your very unique and map the road you will walk on for the rest of your life. Reshuffling your mind implies that your existing standards will be put to trial. New and different ways of assessing, scrutinizing, and imagining things will be introduced. The language may not be what you're used to. The format will be different, and the subjects arranged in what may seem an odd manner. Many times, you might disagree with the notions expressed and the conclusions drawn. You will find points so obvious as to make expressing them redundant. The whole content will offer you the occasion to test your own beliefs, ponder minds, and confront both groups in order to retain what looks more promising for you. The key word here is challenge. The idea is for the reader to be disturbed one way or another. You are not expected to agree straight away. You must mix and remix the arrangement of your mind to suit yourself. The end result will be a very clear, decisive, and personal opinion that will guide you till you reach the next level of existence. To accept the challenge this book offers you, it will make you stronger, better and happier, while making clear to you the very reasons for your existence. Any fool can appreciate success. If you cannot accept negative experiences, you have not learned much yet, for they account for half of the lessons you have to master to reach your life's destination. The second sequence of the program is concerned with brain power. It will introduce you to the concept psi-powered workout, or, more simply, PPW, a technique that will help you drastically improve your intellectual and physical capabilities. After the reshuffling has prepared the mind for the next stage, this part will create the link between your physical power and your intellectual potential. It will also teach you how to improve the conscious brain, and how spreading happiness can bring harmony and complete happiness to one's own life. The association results in a dramatic increase in power and richness of life while fully complying with one's existential mission. The whole human physical organism is under the direct control of the brain, and the development of intellectual potential will normally lead to the improvement of the physical body. Part A further explains PPW, lays down a few do's and don'ts and the best ways to get the results you long for. For those who are impaired in some way, everything expressed here is based on a general principle. Don't take it too literally. You are a unique physical, psychological and spiritual entity. Adapt the principle to fit your own situation and work with your personal reality. These sequences are not a must but are highly recommended. Nature is very demanding but leaves no worker unpaid. You work on the goal, and you enrich your life, one way or another. Reshuffling the 1001st. From ignorance to knowledge. You have turned it inside out many times. You are sure you know absolutely everything about it. You have missed nothing. Think again. Spin around the object, the organization, the creation, again and again. Each time, you will discover a different world. Every part of this universe has an unlimited number of facets that will manifest themselves only after you have scrutinized them time and again. The process is gradual. Each new discovery, while being observed, colors in some way the whole creation. The process is infinite and will go on forever. Scientists spend their entire lives studying the universe. They have been at it for hundreds of years. Their number increases while their instruments are becoming more and more sophisticated and efficient. They periodically discover important characteristics they had not seen or even imagined before. Yet, there is no end in sight. On the contrary, each discovery brings up more increasingly complex information never thought of before, and new answers only open the way to more new unsolved problems. So it is with all aspects of our lives, so it is with all people in our lives, so it is with our entire environment, And so it is with your brain. Time has come for you to walk through a secret door in your life and discover why you were born on Earth as a human being, in the exact situation you are in now. The universe offers unlimited potential for innovation. Some animals have developed a highly sensitive olfactory sense. The polar bear, for instance, has a remarkable ability to smell food from miles away. Human eyes perceive objects when photons hit their eyes. Blind animals sense vibrations. There is a broad range of various ways for all forms of creations to perceive their environment. Each creation enjoys abilities that allow its survival. The gist is, there are unlimited possibilities to choose from in the universe. Use them as many opportunities to progress with your terrestrial mission. All creations of the universe emit particles, in one form or another, from the stars to the painting on the wall, from an elephant to the tiniest virus. These particles can reveal a lot about them. Most human beings seem totally unaware that they actually have the potential to retain much more of the information that is reaching them every moment of their lives. They don't even realize that their organism also emits a lot of information, under a form we usually call radiation, an emission that some much endowed people can interpret to some extent. Each and everything we do, express, or come in contact with bear our personal signature. There is no place to hide for us. The Supreme Intelligence can follow the track of our evolution anytime. All ideas, all dreams, all projects, all words, and all our realizations are automatically marked of our imprints. Some specialists have already succeeded in decoding some of them. It is now possible to identify our DNA, our fingertips, our voice, and our writing, and probably our odor. We do not only have a specific name and history, everything we are related with bear our identification. Spooky or reassuring? It is, indeed, quite reassuring. There is a purpose to such. Nothing is made in vain. It means some entity cares about us. If we are ever trapped in an absolutely desperate situation, someone will know and come to our rescue. That someone can be dispatched from this world or from one presiding over it. Pushing the limits. Researchers of the Centre de Recherche en Biologie de la Reproduction, CRBR, a Canadian University Hospital Research Centre, affirm that an ovum doesn't lose its original propriety of reproduction despite aging. Each ovum reproduced is just as efficient and has the same potential as all those that preceded. Those to come later will also be just as able. The ovum also enjoys another very interesting capacity. When interfering with cells, it resets their biological clock to zero. These cells then regain the original proprieties they had previously lost through the process of aging. Isn't this a clear demonstration that the aging process is stoppable, even reversible? Other researchers on the diabetic disease have made another scientific discovery. They have evidenced the capacity of dead cells to come to life again. Personally, convinced as I am of the incredible capacity of the human mind, I'm not surprised, for I know that this is just normal evolution for humanity. You have heard about stem cells. These now famous cells that science thought could not even exist a few years ago. They were first found only in rare human tissues, for example fetus, umbilical cord. Nowadays, scientists recognize that they are present in all human tissue. These cells have the exceptional capacity to reprogram themselves, replace and assume a new and specialized task in an injured tissue. This is just another demonstration that we have, in ourselves, the capacity to deal with and correct the aging process. Believing has replaced denial of stem cells in the science community. Soon, researchers will learn to tame this formidable potential deeply hidden in the complexity of any living creation. Every day brings new evidences that we, human beings, are endowed with the potential to change the reality of our daily life. Using the power that has been incorporated in our organism, physical, mental, intellectual, and spiritual, or whatever one chooses to name it. We can improve each and every aspect of our lives as well as those of other people, individually or collectively. Most people are totally unaware of this capacity they have, though they benefit this process on a continuous basis, without their conscious participation. What I advocate in this book is that you become conscious of your own capacity and use it willingly to upgrade your life and reach perfect harmony with nature. Have you ever sensed you can suddenly feel and see something you had missed for a long time? Something that seems to have existed forever but was kept hidden to you till the time was right? What doesn't exist for you at this moment may very well be available to a fellow human being. Your reality is unique and ever-changing. Your mind has been forged by a number of dictums, dogmas and beliefs. Your development is the product of a culture. And any culture, whatever its source, has fences and limitations. While what has been achieved may be commendable, the process of growth, inevitably, slows down. You may even have reached a point where no serious gain seems possible. The spark of life that was active in your early age is already losing its intensity. Your unconscious mind has become impervious to your conscious request for improvement. It remains insensitive to your demand to rekindle the fire, return into action, restart the process of development and grow more intelligence and more abilities for you. The stagnation will persist unless you challenge it with something radically different and appealing. Your brain and body develop for as long as there is a need to adapt and extend their capabilities to cope with the environment. As soon as that point is reached, they become less excited and the subconscious stops seeking to expand the development of your abilities merely because there are no more challenges goading them. In a way, it shuts itself up and begins to run in a closed circuit. Unless you put new logs in the fireplace, the intense flame of constant growth and development dwindles. If you are to make some progress, time has come for you to poke through the embers, shock and surprise your mind with new ideas. We're not unlike students who feel tired and bored at the end of a school day. However, if you manage to ignite their interest with something new, in contents or presentation, you might well hear them ask for more. It's all about piquing their interest or curiosity. In order to get your brain to restart the process of generating new neurons and synapses, and developing additional intellectual and physical capabilities, it is important to remove some barriers and limitations that have been erected in the past. It is essential that these borders go. Let's call the first phase of modification, the reshuffling of the mind. When one is placed in a new, unfamiliar environment, the brain works overtime. Faculties are sharper, and your sense of observation is in full alert. Let both sides of your brain, the gray matter and the white matter, explore, analyze, assess and understand the new situation and react appropriately. The brain analyzes all new elements it is confronted with, compares them with the ones he is already familiar with, and draws some conclusions. In doing this, the mind develops new knowledge and new abilities. The human mind, in this way, is not much different from muscles which, after stretches of disuse, respond to sustained physical stimulus by developing more strength and, in the long run, resistance to fatigue. The same principle works with the brain. When exposed to and confronted with new notions, especially when they are arguable, debatable and controversial, the brain's capacity expands and grows more powerful. Upgrading the brain. Upgrading the brain refers to two different visions depending on the profession of the specialists treating the subject. On one side, the neuroscientists have in mind the improvement of the brain by way of physiological changes. They talk about generating or regenerating the neurons, synapses, and all other physical components of the brain matter. Wiring is a familiar term used to designate the whole collection. The scientific ones are brain plasticity, or neuroplasticity. Attempts to rekindle or assign new tasks to existing neurons are also part of the game. On the other side, stand all kinds of psies. To them improving the mind is mostly, though not exclusively, concerned with memory tricks, methods, and mental exercises aiming at improving the performance of the original brain at the exclusion of the intention of adding or altering its physical components or connections. You'll find in this work what some people will qualify as strange ideas. You might think, this has nothing to do with self-realization. You could be right, or you could be wrong. Many people will tell you to pray if you want something. They are nice, good and friendly people. That's great, yet you can do more. What I am trying to do here is transform you from someone who begs for favors into a person who works on his goals and participates in turning them into reality. See the difference? A young man, perfectly sound and healthy but reluctant to work, asks his parents for money to buy a car while he spends his own funds liberally. On the other hand, his sister works hard and makes savings, but asks for a temporary loan. Whose claim do you think wise and responsible parents would value more? Modifying the brain is no easy task. It requires serious efforts. Creating a friendlier line of communication with your unconscious intelligence and convincing it to transform one's wishes into reality is not for everyone. Then, why should one attempt to improve both? The answer is, because it's very rewarding. One must accept that no two individuals are the same. In this book I take into account that uniqueness. For this very reason there can be no shortcut. Together, we'll work on transforming both your intelligences, the conscious and the unconscious ones. These new ideas will become the sources and the roots of all modifications in your physical body, a term that includes your brain. To bring about these changes, we must create new patterns of thinking. We are about to shock and challenge your actual beliefs in more ways than one. Your refusal to fully ponder these notions is like refusing to take medication to cure your illness. It won't hurt you, but it won't help you either. Allow me to use an analogy. Let's refer to hypnosis. Actually, hypnosis is a very simple technique. Yet not everybody can induce it, and it doesn't work well with everyone. According to most specialists in the field, about 1/3 of adults can be hypnotized. I completely disagree with such a declaration. In my opinion and experience, the figure is more like 2/3 or more. A clever hypnotist will succeed in inducing hypnosis in roughly 1/3 of a crowd. So he says, these fellows are the only ones in this group who are sensitive to hypnosis. I am the best and no one can do better, true? A moot point. What he doesn't know or doesn't admit is that in other circumstances, when the other 2/3 of the same crowd is in a different mood, another performer using different techniques will succeed in inducing hypnosis in a percentage of those that seemed totally refractory in the first attempt. The conclusion being, whatever you think you know or really know, there is room for new ideas. These new ideas, or at least these new ways of approaching a problem, cannot be dodged. Both your intelligences must take a different look at this world and this universe to change. Old patterns have already exhausted their full potential. Imagination and creativity have to come to the rescue. Existential, philosophic, psychological and practical questions need to be mulled over again and again to allow your intelligences to evolve. Without such challenge, nothing will ever improve. Here's something very important, your organism will only respond to new needs. Don't forget this. Those who cannot understand and accept the process of evolution could be disappointed here. Let's go for another analogy. If you intend to seriously increase your physical strength, there are two ways to do it. 1. Use appropriate drugs. 2. Exercise. If you merely sit and dream about increasing your physical abilities using an intellectual rote without visualization, you will get non-significant results. This is not natural, and your organism will not respond or will respond very weakly to this type of intellectual stimulus alone. On the contrary, if you physically exercise while putting your intellectual capacity to work using autosuggestion, visualization and many other techniques, you will get results beyond what physical exercise unaccompanied by such intellectual stimulus would attain. To my knowledge, All prominent athletes in the world use such techniques. I insist, there is no perfect way around this. Be tolerant, be patient, and try to understand the lessons of life nature is offering us all. The result depends on such discipline. Yet because you're one of a kind, you will have to dose the technique and adapt its elements to suit your uniqueness. What is very reassuring holds in the fact that the ultimate power will never ask for more than you can afford. You want, you can. Mental faculties and premature death. A few years ago, I read on the internet about a study conducted by Dr. Valerie N. Pavlik of Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas, that linked mental functions in middle age to death risks. I am grateful to Dr. Pavlik for his valuable work and the conclusion he drawn. As it happens, I have come to the same conclusion through non-scientific channels. It is obvious that a poor state of mental functions can be linked to premature death. I advocate that the mind, its conscious as well as its subconscious part, is in charge of the well-being of the whole organism. Where mental abilities have declined, the capacity of the mind to protect and maintain the organization sound and in good health is lessened and the body becomes vulnerable to attacks. The human organism is under constant attack. If the commanding officers are in a state of disarray, unable to command with efficiency, the army of soldiers becomes confused and cannot act coherently to defend the body. Sooner or later, defeat will come. To keep one's mental state sane, healthy, strong and efficient is the best way to prolong one's life. The mind and body must be on a permanent state of alert and defense against diseases, accidents, as well as negative emotions such as envy, jealousy and hatred. As a bonus, of course, life becomes more interesting and happy. If you intend to live many more happy years, don't neglect to properly feed and exercise your mind. Whatever its present state, there is plenty of room for improvement. The nature of life. This universe we live in has no empty space. It is filled with substances man cannot detect, filled with universes invisible and unperceivable by human. The physicists' community is faced with a number of unresolved mysteries. One of them refers to the amount of matter present in our universe. These people are perplexed about the amount of matter that they can account for. According to their researches, the known matter of our universe represents probably only 4 to 7% of the matter required to explain the cosmic movement as they perceive it. More substance driven by similar rules and forces are needed to explain the actual situation. Hence, according to the previously expressed discoveries, our universe is composed of an additional 93 to 96% of dark matter and energy. Dark meaning that it does neither emit nor reflect light. This insensitivity to light means that we cannot see or even detect it. It also probably means that it doesn't interfere at all with the matter we are composed of. It is there, all around us, yet, above a suspicion, we have absolutely no knowledge of its being. Does it mean that there is a possibility that our universe has in store a power that is greater than light? An omnipresence that is as elusive to us as God? A universe of life out and above our little world? I personally have no doubt about such a grandiose achievement of the Creator and Master of this extraordinary creation we are part of. Man moves in this hidden world undisturbed by its presence the same way he moves through the atmosphere or swims in water, by taking the element for granted and stable. Yet the whole universe is alive, interactive, and evolutionary. All lives, big and small, regardless of their different nature, are part of a very complex organization. Everything is a component of another creation as well as its product. Think of suppressing an element and imagine the consequences. The whole creation is just like a line of dominoes. One doesn't fall alone. At every moment of eternity, creations come to life while others terminate their being. A human's life is spent amid a continuous and uninterrupted torrent of life-death evolution. Everything around is a dynamic turmoil of this life-death activity. one could legitimately retain the impression that the entire energy of the universe has been created at the original instant of existence and has not been altered since. What he perceives being solely a gigantic activity of transformation. Every new creation deriving its energy from the death of another, one distinct block of energy transferring its components to associate with a new one that still has a future to evolve in. The notion constituting an additional evidence that nothing is created anymore and nothing is lost forever, a rather widely spread idea indeed. Life is a never-ending evolution, an uninterrupted process of renewal that never quite replicates itself. You are unique. Every particle used in the formation of your organic body is unique and has no perfectly identical twin. All particles composing this world are active and animated. The tiniest particle is as important to the whole as the largest organization. The notion of importance, or size, is totally irrelevant in the universe. The universe, the assemblage of all universes whatever their forms and composition, is teeming with life. Universe is life only and has no other meaning or purpose. There is no such thing as a passive or fixed part of creation, system or organization. The universe we live in is a giant living creature. Life is energy and energy is life, it is one and the same thing. The modern medical definition of death refers to electrical activity in a body. When an egg electrocardiogram reports no electrical heart activity and the egg electroencephalogram does report the same for the brain, the patient is formally declared dead. However, to me, there is more, much more. The body has terminated his life as a human, but its components are not inert forever. They will eventually free themselves from their current association and pursue their mission as part of another creation. Life borrows other form and uses different conduits and paths, but it carries on. Each human being is a component of the universe he lives in, very much like a drop of water is part of a river or a lake or an ocean. Each drop of water travels the full circle of existence, solid to liquid to vapor, in and out, up and down, becoming ice and dissolving, becoming water and disintegrating, changing form and beginning new existences. A drop of water has an immense role to play in the existence of all other components, and similarly, so has man, for the architect of the universe has made no useless or extra building blocks and none is missing. The complex machine is perfect and fulfills its purpose without a single glitch. A human being can be dissected into billions of cells, each formed of billions of particles. This breakdown into ever tinier forms of existence is infinite, and retracts to a point that human comprehension cannot reach. The same principle applies outward to larger and larger systems that have no finite dimensions. What we perceive as birth and death or beginning and end is a human concept. At the level of universe, there exists only a continuum where existence has been and will continue forever. The ultimate gigantic entity comprises everything and is everything. It knows no frontier, inward or outward. It knows no boundaries and has an unlimited number of dimensions. It takes all forms, all shapes, or no forms at all. It is God for those who see it as such. It is the supreme intelligence to others. It is anything as it is everything, including you and me. Evolution is a constant replicating process that gives birth to new creations that differentiate themselves from their predecessors. No two men have been created exactly the same, no two drops of water are absolutely identical, no snowflake has a perfectly identical twin. Our scientists are set on a course of tests to identify more and more differences in particles. Their task will see no end. Mankind has unscrambled and inventoried the human genome, which is all very well, but that's not the end of the story. The process will continue for as long as men will live. Each bit of information already deciphered can be dissected into another sequence of information that would take us to another one, and to another one. Completing the task is not a possibility, simply because there is no such thing as a definite, fixed process of existence. Every creation of this universe is in an ever-changing state of evolution. After we'll have been promoted way upward in the hierarchy of the universe, we will one day understand the system we are part of. That moment is no doubt very far and many existences away. The moment will come, however, when the experience acquired will allow the intelligence that is now experimenting through this body to take its turn at the summit of the pyramid that governs the universe. That event will be our moment of glory, the ultimate paradise amid all our existences. We will then exist in a perpetual state of perfect spiritual bliss and wisdom. As seen from a human perspective, there will have been no commencement and there will be no end to the process, because the potential for evolution knows no such limitations. Make no mistake, however, no creation will ever rule the universe, all by itself, as an independent entity. When our turn comes, our spirit will be reunited and integrated to the being and intelligence that is everything. We will be back where we come from, where we all belong. We will be back where we will have always been without being conscious of such existence. If these notions seem shocking to you, think for a while that, according to physicists, at the moment of the Big Bang, our universe was of the size of a football. And, though under another form, we were all existing and evolving therein. To what is God? For the vast majority of people, God represents an intelligent entity governing all existences. The reality is, God is the collective intelligence and power of the whole creation. I'm a part of it and so are you, as is each other component of the universe. God manifests itself through all actors being part of this wonderful theater play that is the creation. It is futile to believe that the universe is only composed of the elements that modern science can identify. Such presumption by scientists is preposterous. Do not look for God as an independent entity enjoying the power of ruling all the components of the creation. There exists no such master of the universe more than there is a drop of water that governs an ocean. All power of such nature is collective and the use of the word God is only a convenient way of addressing the unified power. From a human perspective, one can picture God as his parents living far away, while he is attending a college in a foreign country. God is family, God is home, where we will return after our studies on planet Earth will be completed. We will, in the future, fly back home and be united again with this family that is ours, in this other dimension of the universe that exists in the very same place and at the very same moment we are in now. To a human being, it will look like a rising of the curtain on an extension of the universe that had been hidden to him for the time of his excursion in humanity. What we know of God we know from our sojourn in this school. To prevent a premature return home, our parents has temporarily erased from our memory the address of our celestial place. God is everything. God is the whole creation. God is the sum of all energy and intelligence gathered in the universe. We are God ourselves in the way that we are in the family. God, acting as parents, takes charge of our formation and education. God is the supreme intelligence, maker and ruler of this universe. His wisdom is the ultimate wisdom. His power is the ultimate power. We are part of it, yet we must submit to this collective will, intelligence, and power. We are all members of the ruling family, but we must still learn to apply the wisdom that normally associates with power and the way to yield it. Let's compare as two young members of a wealthy family to whom the parents are teaching the art of managing their share of the family's fortune. The whole concept of you and me as God is better illustrated with the following analogy. According to neurologists, the human brain integrates from 20 to 100 billions, 100 of neurons, hundreds of trillions of synapses, and is completed with an incommensurable number of other components. Each and every one of these components being itself composed of particles that are too numerous and varied to be measured and inventoried. The whole organization forms an intelligent creation that is a human brain. An interesting feature of the creation lies in the fact that no separate component is acting as king of the hill. No neuron or isolated group of the same is acting as the supreme leader of the entity. The human's brain operates under the joint control of the collectivity of its components. One can then safely conclude that each component is brain. Each neuron is brain, though none holds the ultimate power. The same pattern is valid for God. As I see it, God, call him the supreme power or whatever suits you, is the collective intelligence and power of the universe. There is not, in the universe, an independent entity that created the world, and there is no such thing as an independent leader. God must be seen and is the assemblage of all components of universe. Hence, you're God and I am God in the way that we are all active components of universe, the same way as a neuron in my head is brain itself. If someone attacks any one of my neurons, it's my whole brain that is under attack. I jealously guard and protect them all the same way as I guard and protect my wife and children. I consider any one of them as very precious, and I would not let go of even one that is sin and deficient. I'm adamantly convinced that it's the same with humans. I cannot accept that the Creator, which I am part of, has made an error in creating one or another, and I'm also absolutely confident that he highly values each and every piece of his collection, whatever it represents. Man, guided and represented by his permanent, evolutional, and independent spirit, has participated to the creation of the universe, and, under this form, it is eternal. Nothing is created anymore, and everything is evolution and continuity as it has always been. Another interesting facet of the concept lies in the fact that each existing component is as essential to the whole as any other. Any of my fellow men is just as important and necessary as I am, and none of us is in excess, or a spare. Our overall importance to the collective God we form is the same for any one of us, hence as a human, your value is absolutely identical to mine and any other individual. Nobody is superior to you and nobody is less valuable. This venture on earth we are experimenting, we must live it jointly with our fellow men, the whole humanity forming one united team. I will use yet another analogy to describe God. Let's revisit water. Under certain conditions, water form and circulate in the form of drops. However, these drops, when they accumulate, lose such form to integrate and totally fuse with all others to form a plan made of a uniform liquid. Oceans are formed out of water that come and go. In a way, its components are not always the same. Notwithstanding such characteristic, it remains organized and extremely powerful. Yet, no one drop of water is more important than one another. The relation between man and God looks very much like a drop of water vis-vis a formidable ocean. Seen as an independent entity, man is like a drop of water and represents very little, but man as an integral part of the creation is part of the supreme power. Man is then as much God as a drop of water is the ocean. There is no separation anymore. There exists only the supreme intelligence and the supreme power. In an ocean of water, there is no such entity as a superior drop of water presiding to the destiny of the ocean. The ocean is one and acts as one. The same principle applies to the universe. Man is an integral part of God. Man is God. To the group of particles forming the cells that are forming your organism, man is God. Man is their God. Religious people do pray the God they believe in for help, protection, and rewards. How come they are so concerned with their own well-being that they do not realize that each of their components, regardless of its form or size, feels the same way towards him? These parts of you pray you, yet you remain deaf to their supplications. Man, as a rule, is so self-centered that he only prays for himself and his likes. He pays absolutely no attention to the needs and requests of the innumerable members of the team that is keeping him alive and happy. He is just like a factory boss who is using and abusing his employees, without any consideration for their own needs and emotions. He is oblivious to the fact that his business cannot go on without their cooperation. Your components of all forms and sizes are your organism's servants. If you want them to be motivated and efficient, behave the way a good and intelligent boss do. recognize their participation, motivate them, and keep them happy. You will then be in a legitimate position to harvest the fruit of your sowing. If they are happy, they will make you happy. Without good employees, there is no profitable business. Communicating with the Supreme Intelligence. Can one really communicate with God, and how can it be done, are questions that have fascinated people since the beginning of civilization. There are plenty of skeptics. The nature of God does not allow for the straightforward questions and answers type of chatting. Not that it is not in His power to converse with every human being at the same time, but it is not His intention to do so. Questioning God is more like airing a question to the public on a popular TV program. If your query is precise and well articulated, there will always be someone to supply an adequate answer in a near future. Using his will, one can broadcast his word any time he wants to address the supreme intelligence governing his life. Due to the fact that human enjoys areas of freedom, the use of volition is a must. Though very generous, nature will not grant you everything you want, in the form you desire, without requiring a serious effort of realization from your part. All questions will be answered God's way. These ways can and usually will differ from yours. Following its broadcasting, the question or request will be treated by the collective intelligence we name God, and one or several entities will come to you with appropriate answers, the intelligence then acting like the schoolmaster who is attempting to help you understand the gist of the matter he is teaching you. Oftentimes, you will be asked to complete the sketches of solution offered with the intention of assisting your favorable evolution. If you reject the help popping up in your surrounding and choose to kneel down and beg for a comprehensive response and perfect answers to your queries, you will never really progress in intelligence and wisdom. Hence, it will become more and more difficult for you to satisfy to the meaning of your life. Is it not wonderful to realize that each and every one of us has a role that is customized to his personal needs? You have to be conscious that, amidst the 6 to 7 billions of people on Earth, you are the only one that has to complete the role that you have been assigned with. In this giant theater play, no actor is missing and none is without an essential role. My meeting with the messenger, God, representing the collective power, never came to me saying, "Meet your God." I may have met him every day of my life but never recognized him as such. My direct experience of the Supreme Intelligence took place when I was very ill and hospitalized. It appeared to me as an orb of pure energy. The contours were not well defined, but to me, the orb was very real. It didn't have to identify itself. What needed to be conveyed to me was, in a flash, and was made crystal clear in an instant. I knew this ball of incommensurable power and intelligence was the messenger of an even more powerful and undisputable entity. I have never been very strongly attached to this world. During my young years, I was uncomfortable living on this planet as a human being. I cannot explain where this feeling was rooted, but the sensation lasted for many years. Later on I realized there were many things I needed to learn to live in harmony with the rest of creation. From that moment on I strove to put aside my stubbornness and began learning the lessons life was offering me. I was extremely lucky in my quest. I met a woman who would make me happy. She was and still is the schoolmate who makes it possible for me to attend school every day and learn, to the very best of my ability, the lessons the teacher wants me to study, understand, and put to good use. When I became seriously ill, I began thinking about the possibility of dying, about terminating my stay in this school, and I started contemplating the pleasure of going back home, enjoy a vacation and receive a new assignment. I was torn between a strong desire to return home and the bonds that tied me to my wife, children and grandchildren. I chose to remain with my family. I simply love them too much, and owe them more than I can ever pay back. The Creator has devised many different ways to make us wish to stay longer in this world, a world where fear is omnipresent while love is always predominant. During my near-death experience, a message was passed to me, My request had been granted and I was allowed to go on with my role in this world and live for a while longer. How long was not mentioned. Yet no question remained unanswered. The messenger was neither friendly nor hostile, there was no emotion involved at all. However, his power was obviously immense. I sensed that if I were to extend a hand towards him, my hand would simply dissolve and cease to exist, leaving no residue, without any pain to me. My own encounter with an entity of the celestial world seems perfectly consistent with those of many other people who have experienced, one way or another, that the Master of the universe represents the ultimate source of energy, power and intelligence. We are part of him but, as humans being, we are no match for him. It was also made known to me that the Master wanted me to be informed that he was the ultimate power derived from the combination of energy and experience. Though I was part of the family, the assembly of all members was holding the ultimate intelligence and power. A member of such large family, all by himself, has no meaningful authority. A lesson I am not going to forget. The existential world. I do firmly believe that the universe is composed of an indefinite number of different worlds and types of substances and matter. Dreams are as real as the daily realities of life. All types of creation are modeled one after the other, not unlike a set of Russian dolls except that the number of smaller and larger dolls is infinite. Our mortal existence is associated with only one of those universes boxed one into one another. Looking from within one of those dolls, we can see neither the smaller nor the larger ones, confined in a world that is part of a larger unit that remains totally unidentifiable by a human, though he is part of it. Affirming that universe has no finish and no boundaries is mind-boggling for most people. To many it is a heresy that they cannot accept, for they cannot imagine a creation without a commencement and an end. To those in search of the line between existence and non-existence, I ask this question: how can a creation be born out of a non-existing one? How can matter be formed out of void? How can an organization, whatever its type, can develop in a sustained, logic and efficient way without an intelligence to plan and preside to its formation? All these questions will ever remain with no logical answers unless you say, it cannot be, which takes to the conclusion that a superior intelligence has presided to the formation of the universe. When and where was that intelligence born and developed brings us to the impossibility of establishing a commencement and an end. Hence, one can safely declare that the universe is indefinite, limitless and knows no boundaries of any kind. The universe comprises everything that has and will ever exist. There was no before and there will be no after. See the universe rolling in a loop. Birth and death are part of the same continuing process, though each loop is different from the preceding and of those that will follow. Each tiny part of the mechanism being subject to the same concept, time and space are irrelevant. The beginning is the end and the beginning again and the end again. Yet nothing is ever as before and nothing will ever be repeated. The past is not and nor is there any future. In philosophical terms, the only existence is the one being when one is conscious of being. This notion also applies to realities. There is not one but an unlimited number of realities. We move from one reality to another, unless you prefer to think of our situation as static and imagine the film of reality rolling around us, uninterrupted. I am confident that I am being educated in this world to a purpose. All the difficulties encountered, and all the problems I have been required to resolve, have not been in vain. Nature has a vision regarding my evolution. One day I will leave this world and be promoted to a higher post. My status as student will be replaced by a much more rewarding one. The education and experience acquired will earn me a new assignment associated with its own reward. Like it or not, nature holds the ultimate power. I do accept that with grace, and I suggest that you do the same if you mean to be happy. Wanting more. When I say farewell to this world, I want to be able to feel that I regret nothing, I missed nothing, I fear nothing, I expect nothing. I am going to return to my home in universe with my heart filled with peace and confidence. I want that imprint to last forever and ever in my soul. Such a feeling I name plenitude. It represents the ultimate peace of mind, the total absence of worry, a perfect harmony with nature, and the satisfaction of having successfully completed my mission. It will be a prelude to the blissful happiness that will be mine when I reach home. I can't imagine a more beautiful way to terminate one assignment and begin another. Most people spend their lives looking for more possessions, more love, more consumption, more fame, more beauty, more achievements. There is nothing intrinsically bad with this, but there might be something wrong with the reasons for their quest, or the means used to fulfill their aspirations. You might think that some people are fully satisfied with what they have. Not true. Offer them more knowledge, more happiness, better food, better entertainment, better company, more love, more freedom, more peace or more action or simply more power or more money, and see if they reject them all. Nobody is perfectly satisfied with what he possesses. He might say that, but it's simply untrue. Had that been so, this mythical person would have reached perfection and moved to heaven, for perfection cannot dwell on earth. It is now obvious I will not know perfect happiness for as long as I am human. Nevertheless, I will always strive to reach that state of plenitude I mentioned. I will not allow that craving for more and more to poison my life. I will continue to learn more and more about the human situation, but I will do this without trying to overswell my collection of riches, of whatever kind. I just want to be happy and content with what I do and what I have, and I wish the same for all my fellow men. I desire to spread happiness around, yet I feel no compulsion to reach any particular objective. I enjoy peace of mind, while striving to let nothing and nobody disturb this state. Wanting more is natural in this world. Your headmaster wants you to learn to control this craving and be happy while satisfying it. The survival experience. Life on Earth is quite like the one of a group of people experimenting survival in the wilderness, a mandatory exercise for everyone coming into this universe as a human being. Our goal is to survive, prosper, experiment and learn to live in harmony in this world. The experiment will last for no predefined period of time, it could be 1 day or 100 years and more. We are given a whole pack of gear and ample advice to start with. However, no two people are given exactly the same gear and instructions about their mission, and no mission is identical to any other. We will meet helpful guides who will give us good advices and evil ones who will misguide us and lay traps on our patch. Most people we will meet will be friendly, but we will also have to fight foes. There will be rainy days and sunny ones. We will be exposed to fine weather as well as extreme temperature. We will feel joy, sorrow, sadness, love, hate, deception and satisfaction. We will confront failures and successes, both equally dangerous. We will fight to feed ourselves conveniently on a daily basis. Notwithstanding our feelings, we'll have to take others' lives, vegetal or animal, or perish. No two members of the group will be granted the same privileges, facilities and difficulties. The rewards for success or penalties for failure will never be the very same for any two people. No two participants will follow the same path or meet the same pitfalls. No two entities will be judged using the same standards. Each human being is unique, his destiny is original and his reasons to be here are his and his alone. However, he has to aim at a goal that is shared by all his fellow creatures. He has to experience and thrive to discover the harmony and happiness the Supreme Intelligence wants him to find in order to go on with his personal evolution. Don't expect other members of the group to share exactly the same experience at every moment of your life. In a way, and to a certain extent, you're on your own, and that's the way it should to be. Take comfort in the fact that help is everywhere along the way. Most of the time you won't even notice that you have been redirected to the right path by an invisible hand, a friend whose existence you're unaware of. In the most difficult periods of your journey, There will be little miracles that will never be explained to you in this world. This earthly school is an incredible organization run by a master. You will make it. We'll all make it. This is your experience with life, a very personal journey that you will share with no other living. While you're on this planet, undergoing this unique experiment that is your life, relax. Take it one day at a time and keep smiling because it will make everything so much easier. How can an elusive thought transform into reality? Plant the seed of an oak in your backyard and watch it become a solid giant tree. It will not grow quickly enough for you to perceive the achievement in real time, but its roots will search and collect particles over particles from within the earth. These components to be will navigate their way to their final destination where they will become incorporated to the tree that will keep increasing until it fully matures. One can only marvel at the intelligence that directs each new element to the exact place where it is needed in order for the vegetal to grow orderly. There can be no shortcut. A number of years later, the landscape will be changed forever. So goes, from wish to reality, the desire to grow as an oak. So grows man, outside and inside, body, brain and spirit. So is turned into matter the idea that is sustained and cultivated. Do you know that you are a winner? The universal intelligence has ruled that you are bright and fit enough to be allowed a place in its progressive process. You earned and were granted the right to be a human being. You raced and emerged first among close to 40 million spermatozoids. That makes you very special indeed. It looks like a divine hand has blessed you. You applied for admission into school Earth. This educative facility, reserved for the elite, is of the boarding and tuition kind. You passed some extremely competitive and challenging tests to be admitted here. You grew from a tiny cell into a human being. You were born into this world and you now occupy the seat that was made for you in the class you have been assigned to. The people you call parents have accepted to act as your primary teachers. However, anything can happen here. You are going to be challenged in ways you never imagined, but you have vowed not to quit the course willfully under any normal circumstances. Do not assume you understand, even less control, all aspects of your present situation. Life will prove that you don't. If you were, the teaching would be over and you would be promoted to an upper level immediately. The masters of your universe transmit to you messages without your even knowing it. The messengers themselves, as a rule, are unaware of their own role. I explain, someone says something to you assuming you will understand exactly what he has in mind. That person is convinced that the message she is delivering will have a strong influence on your behavior. In fact, you are influenced by the message in ways the deliverer never intended. Your perception may even be the very opposite of the original intent. The reason is that this person is only acting as a link between two parties, relaying a message from a higher source, to you. Once more, the master has touched two birds with one stone, the messenger and you. One may even go further and imagine that the message, not unlike a rubber ball thrown on a hard surface, will continue to bounce until all members of the group that have to be influenced have been touched. Search your mind to find the source of your thoughts and you will begin to understand what I mean here. A normal person generates an uninterrupted flow of thoughts all day long. We usually refer to this as the capacity to imagine. We all are dreamers, though some of us are more gifted intellectually and develop a greater ability to analyze ideas and retain the most promising ones, even transforming them into reality. The question here is, how can I prevent my best thoughts from drifting away so that I can work upon them? Let's see how planets and stars are formed, or more practically, form themselves. A solitary particle of dust, endowed with a little attraction, attracts another particle and, together, they form a new entity. Then, in satisfaction of their envy to expand, they attract more and more particles. All together they form a cloud of substance. The new little cloud attracts more little clouds, till it becomes large and dense. During the process, a very intriguing event takes place. At some unidentifiable moment, the cloud turns into an organized system. While growing and making itself a planet or a star, it seems as if a mysterious and unknown force has taken charge, regulating the mass of matter. Knowing that this form of evolution is constant, one can only come to the conclusion that there is out there an intelligence that devised such a system and disseminated it in nature to form the universe. The evolution from a tiny particle into a planet is fascinating. Where does the very first particle come from? How and why was it created? Why will it later explode or implode or be swallowed into a black hole? Seen from yet another angle, why did the desire and the capacity to grow further died? Scientists don't know yet, they are still working on it. My philosophical answer is, each and every creation has a life of its own and takes form into our common universe in fulfillment of its destiny. The very same question applies to the formation of a human. Did life emerge from man or woman or both? Did it begin with a thought or desire? Did it come from the ovule or the spermatozoid? Everything that exists is made out of an assemblage of infinitesimal particles, some of them called quarks. But quarks are presumably inanimate particles that are the primary building blocks used to form more complex creations. If quarks have no life, how come assembling a selection of them under some particular forms make life sprouts into creations? The answer is obvious. Life is everywhere and permeates everything in the universe. There is an incredible intelligence behind creation. Nothing is created and nothing is lost. Everything is transformation and organization. It even looks like everything is part of a plan that is far beyond our own comprehension. Imagine the development of a human intelligence, a development that will evolve quite like the little cloud transformed into a planet or a gigantic star. We often hear that there is no limit to our possibilities. The statement is an exaggeration. One cannot dream of mastering the universe he lives in during a lifetime. However, one can develop intellectual and physical capacities to an extent that will make him happy. Happiness being the ultimate goal, dream of no other. Coming back to the question of harnessing your thoughts, your intelligence has developed like that little cloud that was animated with the desire to go way beyond its current state. It felt it had a goal to reach. You now have one too. You need a plan, a program and an organization. This book will supply those elements. Further, it will add fertilizer that will improve and accelerate your project. You will learn some tricks of the trade. But whatever the project, it will not work unless you do your footwork. Unless you focus on it intensely, act and react willfully and concretely, your dream will quickly drift away and lose the capacity to be transformed into reality. Transforming one's brain into a much more powerful one is not a piece of cake. Some qualities are a must, namely, discipline, intensity and tenacity. The most rewarding aspect of deserved and earned success is the pleasure one derives from it, which far exceeds the efforts and pain one has invested in it. There is no shortcut to our goal. We are on a journey. We must travel the road. Spreading happiness around, why you must care. Spreading happiness around is to your mind what food is to your body. If it suffers of mental anorexia, your mind, at the image of the body which doesn't receive the essential ingredients it requires to be healthy, will never reach the state of happiness. This reward will slip out of your grasp until you do what is right. Why is that so? Is a question to put to the creator of the universe and, as a human being, the only answer you will get is, it is an obligation made to you so that you can evolve and progress in the knowledge of the universe as the supreme intelligence wants you to. What you do unto others, you do unto you, bad or good, it will be written in your account. Nature is very patient. It may take a lifetime before you receive your formal request for payment or your just rewards, but it will not go unsettled. Why not earn a bit now and pay off your debts or build a little nest? It would be a nice notion to imagine that Mother Nature is tolerant, easily pardoning us our flaws, but the truth is, she is quite demanding. She forgives a number of sins but she won't tolerate abuse and or negligence. you must devote your best efforts or suffer a penalty. She applies the no pain no gain law with much seriousness. In fact, she wrote it. As human beings, the ultimate goal of our life concentrates around one word: happiness. If we were to become perfectly happy on earth, we would have totally fulfilled our mission here. That moment will never come, for we will be called back home before it ever takes place. The definition for happiness can be made simple or complex. Let's keep it simple. Happiness, a feeling like no other, is made of love and positive emotions. It totally excludes hate and other negative sentiments and intentions. Happiness is peace of mind enriched with the velvety passion of the present instant. In fact, there can be no complete happiness till all negative feelings have been totally evacuated. Total happiness is perfect harmony. Happiness is the quintessence of life and its quest the only reason for man to exist. A normal person cannot reach the state of happiness while she is surrounded with grievances, hate and the idea of revenge. So, in our quest for happiness, we have an obligation to spread around as much joy as possible. Not doing so would be like living in a space closely surrounded with extreme bad odors. The smell would soon permeate and contaminate our own. For your own sake, be generous, spread happiness around. Some laws of the universe appear to be very odd. They appeal to your selfishness to convince you to participate in a common goal. This natural law incorporates an obligation to share under penalty of losing one's own happiness. There is more: each time you spread hope and happiness around, a cut is paid to your account. It has taken me a lifetime to come to the conclusion that giving hope and spreading happiness is the most efficient and fastest way of attracting them to one's self. Most people are born with a good heart. They are genuinely generous. To them all, happiness is just around the corner and ready to be picked up. Others will have to travel a small bumpy road. Hopefully there is a sure and rather short way for those walking in the right direction. Whoever you are, happiness is with you and in you. You pick it up or you go by. The decision is yours. Another amazing and interesting quality of happiness lies in the fact that it tends to multiply endlessly. That smile you offer others, or that little word of encouragement to a friend, has the potential to reproduce itself many times over. Be generous, spread happiness and see how it propagates in your neighborhood. Words have a form of magic power. They influence the mood and the attitude of those who hear them. Positive words generate positive response. Unfortunately, negative ones provoke the opposite effect. Being nice to others is the same as being good to your own organism. The domino effect will culminate with the boomerang effect. Your gift will finally come back to you enriched by all those you touched in the first place. Nature has its own, sometimes baffling, ways of rewarding you. One throws a penny of happiness to someone, the piece touches its goal and, surreptitiously, continues its flight further, coming around your back like a boomerang and, enriched from its new experience, lands in your bag of happiness, the little copper piece having then transformed into gold. The following example comes from my very own daily life. I see it like an artist's creation made out of articles picked out of a street trash can. To the insensitive eye it has no meaning at all. To the sensitive one it is a form of art, beauty, and imagination. 3 or 4 times a year, I go to South Florida for a 3 to 4 week sojourn. I always walk on the beach early in the morning. On the first few days, very few people look at me and say good morning. But I do my best to keep a smile on my face and greet most of them. After a few mornings, there are more and more people who greet me, and, this is the interesting factor, the habit expands itself. After a few weeks, in the early morning, most people on the beach, walkers, anglers, and other beach and ocean lovers, greet each other. Good habits and manners are communicative. They expand on their own power. This population is very mobile. Tourists and visitors come and go, and so it is obvious that when I leave, due to the lack of a leader, the habit dwindles. people tend to return to their former behavior. What matters to me is this: while I am there, I do my best to spark a tiny wave that will spread around. It works. I have done my best and have accomplished my mission. How to spread happiness around. Think of happiness as a diamond in its original state, encased in hardened mud, looking not unlike any other crusted stone. Its true nature is revealed only when you work on it, rubbing off this gang. At every moment of our life you are surrounded with happiness wrapped in a mud crust that needs to be rubbed off if you wish to enjoy its beauty. Spreading happiness around yields the same result as rubbing off the crust off a precious diamond. When people hear about spreading happiness, they tend to think in terms of money. I don't want to be associated with such a limited concept. Spreading happiness certainly conveys the idea of sharing its own good fortune with the less fortunate, but being good to people goes well over being charitable with money. Money is no synonym of happiness. Giving money is not even always related to generosity. Not all those who give money to charities are good souls. Some are even the very opposite. People give money for a variety of reasons, out of guilt, in an attempt to save their souls, because their religion advocates it, in their search for fame, for tax reasons, for publicity, to attract business of groups and associations who are concerned with charities. The list goes on, for there can be as many reasons as there are donors. Many business people are happy to pair business and charities, and I fully approve. One must understand, however, that those tax deductions those entrepreneurs benefit from are, in fact, largely at the expense of taxpayers. In other words, when a profitable business deducts a donation to charities, such donation should be done in the name of all taxpayers. Many personal donations are also worth a tax reduction for the donor. The incentive derived from tax deduction is, in my view and notwithstanding the abuses, one of the excellent ruling made by politicians we so openly and, quite often, rightly criticize. The gist of this is, spreading happiness around can take as many forms as the number of people dispensing it. Money is only one way amidst a constellation of possibilities. The best gift one can give a fellow man comes free and unlimited. It is genuine friendship. Practice being genuinely nice, friendly, and pleasant. See the best aspects of things as well as the very best traits of humans and say it aloud. A smile, a hello, a thank you, a compliment, a phone call, an email are as many ways of spreading happiness around. It also contributes to a more peaceful and pleasant world. One is much less prone to being tough with a friendly person as against a perfect stranger who seems insensitive to his feelings and needs. Criminals and terrorists have their own reasons for doing what they do, but it is certain that if these people were in harmony with the whole creation, they would not act the way they do. They would not be what they are. Most of them have a grudge against other people or groups of people. We know that most terrorists are also indoctrinated and manipulated by people with a political, religious or financial interest. Yet if these soldiers were happy, they would have much less chances of falling victims of predators who use them to access a power that drives them mad. Let's share our happiness with them before they are brainwashed by fanatics or criminals. In the present context, the most important criteria for charity is that one has to be comfortable with it. Giving under fear or constraint is without any merit. Money or clothes or food or other material things, give or not as you choose. Your time, you can give or not. All this is irrelevant per se. There is no value in all this unless the intention is pristine. Sharing what you are instead of sharing what you have could even prove to be much more beneficial to both parties than anything else. Friendship is food to the emotional brain while knowledge is fuel to its intellectual counterpart. Friendship and knowledge are very powerful motivators and have the capacity to change the world around you for the better. According to different circumstances, I have various ways of spreading happiness around. How is of no importance here. The idea is to do one's best on every occasion. Yet one has to be consequent with the concept, Human's ultimate goal is to discover happiness, but happiness won't let itself be found if one is not to spread it with his fellow men. We are all aware that a smile is the most inexpensive way to improve our look. If you don't already do it, do yourself and your neighbor a favor, smile to yourself, smile to other people, and smile to life as often as you can, and watch the magic operates, transforming dull moments and sheer happiness, evolving into humanness. Life is evolution. According to scientists, our ascendants, at a certain stage of development, were monocellular worms. Not evidently bright, they obviously dreamt of developing into forms better adapted to their environment. Had they felt content with their current state, they would not have evolved, and you would not be reading this. Since this age, a few particles associated themselves with the desire to grow into a larger and more powerful entity. Until this day, the Earth has gone a long way in terms of evolution. Various forms of life took place. Some species perished while others continued their progression. Throughout this formidable transformation, resulting from an incommensurable number of dreams, finally emerged man, who sees himself as the most intelligent and the most advanced of all terrestrial creatures. Man seems different from other species. Nature has instilled in him a stronger propensity to want a better and easier life for himself. This call of Mother Nature's cannot be ignored. We must do something. We need to learn as much as we can. We have to evolve for the better. This particular penchant of man has translated into some feeling of superiority on other life forms of this planet. The Bible teaches that God created our world from nothing. In the later refinement, He created man. I do not see this statement as a contradiction of the worm-to-man theory. To me, it is simply another way of telling the story of our evolution. The basic truth is, no man can imagine the very first moment of the origin of universe. We can travel a long way into the infinite in search of the first manifestation of existence, but we inevitably come to a point where a difficulty of conception of what could have been before cannot find its solution. The answers to our imaginative questions come no more. Our brain is simply not powerful enough to evoke the possibility of a whole and vast organized world coming out of nowhere. Our intelligence continues searching for the seed that grew from a non-existing place to our universe. I, for my part, stick to the concept of a continuum as I already expressed in a previous chapter. Today we must ask ourselves, what is the source of our ideas? What intelligence is creating these notions, and why it is so? How do they become reality in our human brain? Scientists have no complete answers to such questions. They can only observe what exists at the moment of their observation. They walk back farther and farther on the path of the formation of thought until they get totally confused and lost. There is no way for them to trace back the intelligence that is inspiring them. The philosopher then comes in to propose that the human mind is programmed to receive, treat, and transmit information communicated to him by a vastly superior intelligence. In the giant play of humanity, every new existence begins with a dream, a thought, an intention that emerges in the mind and is treated by the same. It can be rejected or retained, accepted and transformed into something viable and stable. If deemed valuable by the conscious mind, it might then be transferred and accepted by the subconscious intelligence, progressively transformed, and start an existence on the physical plan. For the sake of this exercise, let's assume that we have deemed the thought interesting and valuable and that we would like it to materialize. How would that happen? Imagine how a tree grows, how a house is built, or even how a child is raised, and you have the basic recipe. The principle is the same in all three examples. It is done progressively. One has to be disciplined and consistent with one's goals if one wishes to enjoy the result. Sacrifices must be made, meaning that one has to renounce to some things in order to be allowed to enjoy others. If you intend to build a house, there are a number of inevitable steps to follow. You must dream about it, make blueprints, find the money or the credit required, etc. One day the first building block is laid down. one more is added and so on. The house will be the result of a rather long and complicated process. The exact moment of the fruition of the thought is difficult to pinpoint. One day you have a building site, on another one you have a house. It's magic. This is true of every dream. It has to evolve from non-existence into reality. It can be made of physical matter or not. It is irrelevant. We are now concerned with the quality of the result. It is not sufficient to say, I now own a house. It has to be beautiful, charming and cozy. It must be warm and waterproof. It needs to have all amenities required in a modern world. We are concerned here with your unexploited potential to become a happier person. The rest will follow in the proper order. We finally come to the very reasons for all this reshuffling of the mind: happiness, our ultimate goal. Every plan you make has to be designed with a potential to bring more happiness in your life. Don't think in terms of quantity. Think in terms of quality. If you let your imagination wander endlessly, you will always want more and more. Put a leash on your imagination and think about what makes you happy instead of fat. Add a little touch of magic. At the same occasion, see your new happiness spreading around. Understand that the system operates the loop-type way: the more happiness you get, the more you spread round. The more you spread round, the more you get. Isn't it wonderful? Go on, day after day. Keep dreaming about your goal. Be disciplined. Don't neglect any aspect of your daily life because it would prove to be a serious mistake. Here is what will eventually take place: if your wish is well planned and you work it over and over, it will materialize itself gradually. Just like modeling paste, reality will take a new form. The former situation will have ceased to exist and a new one will just be there. It will come out of the blue sky and you will never know how and when it happened. It will simply be and be yours. Evolution is, from the dream of a house to a house, from the hope of happiness to happiness. Time, discipline and efforts are of the essence. Yet it can materialize any time. Is not teaching people how to extract more happiness for their daily life a much more valuable gift than giving them a $100 note? Teaching a skill to an uneducated person may be like giving him the opportunity to earn a decent living for his whole life. It means much more than a $100 gift. It also means dignity, freedom, independence, and security. Keep also in mind that your friendship is very precious to your fellow men. The invisible veil. This veil can be compared to a thin sheet of glass inserted in a window. This matter, because it is transparent, can remain invisible to the inexperienced and untrained eye and mind. Many birds have flown to their death hitting a window pane they could not imagine the existence until the moment of impact. Some people look at nature through a window without realizing that there is solid substance between their eyes and the object in their field of vision. This lack of imagination blocks their access to a better evolution. Understanding Psi-powered workout, PPW, does not require outstanding intelligence but an open mind. Some people might deny the existence of a potential they have never been aware of before, while others, notwithstanding their good faith, see through the window pane, not realizing the presence of the solid matter. My books, Secrets of the Mind and Get a Brain Lift, are all about brain power. They offer you leads that will allow you to realize the existence of the veil of ignorance hiding from your view, the limitless lot of opportunities you were granted at the moment of your birth. Once you see the veil, it becomes possible to push it aside and walk through to an accessible universe of opportunities and abundance, just the way one pushes aside a sliding glass door. We have our eyes open and look around for the largest part of our life. How come we see some part of the creation and not others? Most people assume our sight projects itself, like a radar wave, to the objects in front of us, retrieving, on the bouncing back, the information collected at the moment of impact. The opposite is the fact: photons, commonly known as particles of light, emitted from an independent source of light, hit the object before bouncing to our eyes, which collects the information at that moment. Our brain then interprets the information. Until the moment photons make contact with our sight organs, we don't see the objects standing in front of us, whatever the distance. Without the emission of photons traveling in his universe, a human being would remain totally blind. In a way, all matter should become dark matter and would remain absolutely invisible to human eyes. A wave of photons emitted by a star may travel for many years at the speed of light before reaching our eyes. This means that, when the meeting occurs, our eyes see a picture that existed in the past. Can we also see the future? Let's mull for a moment over physical particles. I don't think we have yet discovered all the building blocks of our universe. Even if I take into account the 93 to 96% of additional dark matter and energy we have talked about in a previous chapter, there is, in my view, much more that we don't know compared to what we do. Many years ago, physicists discovered the neutrino, a particle with an original characteristic: it can travel through a lot of matter without being detected. It can even travel through the Earth, from one side to the other, without colliding with any other matter. There is no doubt that there is much more than meets the eye even with the assistance of telescopes or microscopes. It is curious that while there are people who succeed in gathering a lot of useful information regarding many aspects of life, their fellow men remain seemingly blind, even to the existence of those additional layers of knowledge. PPW, that I will write about in my book, is not a mystery or an incredible discovery. It is about harnessing a potential that each of us carries and uses, one way or another. However, a better understanding of how it works allows us to derive dramatically increased benefit from our brain and mind. We all grow from infancy to maturity at a pace that does not touch our senses. We can only observe that the process is active by comparing the present to what we perceive as the past. If I contribute a small particle to the building of a better world and everybody else does the same, this planet will evolve favorably and will become a more pleasant place to spend our lives on. PPW is that little extra power that helps you place your hand on the treasure that's within your reach but you have never managed to get a firm grip on. Raison d'être. For decades, I searched my mind for the reason of my existence. No philosophy, no reading, no preaching and no religion could offer a suitable answer to my quest. I could never make mine the opinions expressed by many philosophers that human life is an absurdity void of any real intended meaning. As to religious answers, they appear to be based much more on fear and mythical hope than on logical and sustained reasoning. In an attempt to shun away embarrassing questions, devotees usually replaces the word ignorance by mystery. I do not accept the dogma God loves you under the condition that you believe and submit to my religion, or your life after death will be a permanent and endless state of despair in a dark place. Because I could not accept the contradiction I perceived in such type of message, I did what I always do when I see no solution in sight. I turned to Mother Nature, and patiently watched and listened. The answer came, clear and simple: I was created a human to experience, learn and progress in the knowledge of the universe. There were no more unanswered questions. Humanity is a school founded and managed by the supreme intelligence that has made and governs the whole universe. The notion integrates perfectly with the principle of a nature in constant and endless evolution. All elements of creation are preserved. Nothing is ever lost. A human's life must have a purpose in accordance with all other elements of nature. It has to be evolution in the broadest meaning of the word. We humans are here for the duration of our classes. Experiences are lessons. We must come to terms with Mother Nature, accept the experiences she sends us and learn the lessons she teaches us. As soon as a lesson is learned, comes another. How well we cope depends on our acceptance of the role we are asked to play in the human world. The director made no mistake about you. You're exactly where he wants you to be. Being practical, one can say that you are not at liberty to modify the character you have to play, but the interpretation is your own responsibility. You will be good or not per your own volition and not otherwise. Nobody and nothing on this planet make any move, so little and insignificant be it, without a goal, a motivation. Let's face it, in that way, we are perfectly egotistic, we are absolutely incapable of doing anything without a reward for ourselves. So we have been created. The ultimate goal of human life is to reach harmony with this world of ours. The intelligence governing us transmits its appreciation through feelings. Love, satisfaction, and, ultimately happiness manifest themselves, out of the blue sky, as soon as one has satisfactorily assimilated the lessons he had been assigned. Being successful usually translates into pride, satisfaction, and joy. On the other hand, someone handicapped or subendowed could also derive a lot of satisfaction from a less prominent rank because of lessons well learnt. In the eyes of the superior intelligence, it is obvious that being first, being rich, being successful according to human standards, doesn't mean anything as such. What you must understand is this: when nature finally rewards you with durable happiness, be assured that you have fulfilled the reason for your coming to this world. For those who are still unhappy, the situation is equally clear: you are in the middle of an experience, in the process of learning. You may miss the essence of the lesson that is being taught to you. You will have to modify, at least a little bit, your way of thinking, of analyzing the situation. Just the way nightmares come to an end when they are completed, the moment you perceive and accept the lesson you are being taught, a new reality will replace the somber one. Don't look at others, don't look around, in front or behind. The answer is already in you. It is with nothing, nobody and nowhere else. The boot camp. It is the nature of men to fight one another. That is not going to change soon. One way or another, each of us has to compete and fight for survival. Mother Nature has created this planet and its organization of life, and she has made sure that we were left with plenty of reasons to argue, bicker and fight about. We compete for space, water, food, love, power. Anything that we perceive as necessary and or desirable. Life is challenging us to some kind of extreme. Notwithstanding the environment you have to live in, your human role is to strive for harmony. When your classes are over, if you have succeeded in understanding this basic principle and applied it to the best of your knowledge and abilities, you will have succeeded. Life is not unlike a boot camp. The Supreme Authority has willfully created a school where a human's talents are on trial. During his life, man is submitted daily to numerous difficulties that he is asked to solve the best he can. Some will have more on their syllabus. Some will evolve one way while others will progress in another. Nobody is given the very same task or the same test at the same time. We live for ourselves alone. In a way, every other human being can only be seen as an accessory to one's life. Nobody can live my life on my behalf, and it is the same for you. No delegation and no cheating is possible. Our master has made sure that nobody escapes the camp. Better abide by the policy than look for a way around. Playing by the rules is the only way to attract happiness. The difficulties lie in the fact that these rules are not written in a plain language. Yet they will be explained when required. Stay alert and keep listening. Life is a dream. You have to believe me. These words are of the utmost importance. Life is a dream. Dreams are as real as the rest of our lives. Reality is not fixed forever. The reality you believe you're trapped in will come to pass and will come to an end as suddenly as your worst nightmare. This past reality will cease to exist and vanish in oblivion the way your dreams do. Like the people you see and touch in your dreams, the people in your life will remain totally unaware of your experiences. Everybody's life is a personal experience. You're on your own. Those people in your dreams are totally unaware of the role they play in your dreams while you sleep, and so it is when you switch from your current reality to a new one. In no time, the memory of the past experience fades away and ceases to exist. Don't worry about it, every element and component of your life is being harmonized with the new situations. It follows the evolution. One has to experience a situation of great vulnerability in his life to realize that the daily reality is largely influenced by energy. The more energy one has, the more he is connected to the daily reality. When this energy dwindles to a low point, one can easily switch from one dream to another, which in fact is moving from one reality to another. When no energy is left, one immediately moves from one state to another, which represents a complete change of reality. Energy is the cement that bounds an entity to the human state of life. As soon as the energy is drained and not renewed, or the organism experiences a situation where this energy is going to be lost, the mind is free to leave the organism he has been using in order to complete his stay in this human world. It certainly bears some similarity to a car that comes out of fuel. One should not be shocked by such an earthly comparison. It is perfectly normal. All existing systems are copies of a multitude of similar ones over all universe. Yet, because nature never creates two things in perfect similarity, each has its uniqueness and differences. The final report card. I am fully aware that not everyone shares my opinion on this topic. It is my obligation to listen to you, and in all honesty, and you owe me the same courtesy. I firmly believe that on graduation day, we all get a passing note. When one of us finishes his last day in school, he is promoted to a higher degree. There is no coming back to relive the very same experiences, learn the same program of studies, and be submitted to the same end-of-session tests. This phase is final, and any other will be different. Many will argue that if it is so, there is no reason for any of us to do our best to reach the highest standards of conduct. If the villain receives the same reward as the valiant, there can be no valuable reason to mortify ourselves and make all those efforts and sacrifices. Please, reconsider under new light. First, your life is independent of others, even your close ones. Whether others achieve or fail is none of your business. Their assignments, their missions, the lessons they must learn are none of your concern. Think of human beings as role players in a giant play. All actors are equally important. After the play is over, we all return to what we were before, taking with us the lessons learned. For a moment, imagine a world made out of brave people only. No killers, no rapists, no robbers, no lazy people, no terrorists, no liars, no treachery, and, let us add, no handicapped. The notion of good or evil doesn't exist. There are no villains, no heroes, and everyone is in full possession of his means. Everybody is made equal. There are no lessons to learn from life, hence no need to be born and die. Remember the saying, no pain, no gain. The Master of the Universe has created it the way it is, for he has plans for us all. Are you going to argue with him requesting a change of his plans? Not a good idea. Altruism and selfishness. As humans, we compete for food, for jobs, for honors, for love, for everything in fact. Our Creator has made the notions of power, success, and failure part of our universe. Those who say that men have corrupted our world are oblivious of the reality that the whole universe incorporates the same notion. We have competed with 40 million other spermatozoids to become the only chosen one. Never forget that we live only by taking other lives, animal or vegetal. There is nothing we can do about it. Such is our nature. The universe is so built that there exists no pure altruism. The strict basic rule is complete selfishness. However, the entity that governs us enjoys intelligence far beyond our own comprehension. We understand what we have to understand, and that is okay. I judge people all the time in my daily conversation, and so do you. We are both humans, and what we do is what should be done. Our mission is to observe and learn from our environment and experiments. We must strive to become better persons, understand other people, understand Mother Nature, and understand the active principles and practices governing this universe that is our abode. Altruism is concerned with unselfishness and devotion to the welfare of others. Its antonyms are selfishness, egocentrism and egotism. Altruism is a state of mind, rather than a behavior. In a way, even our most generous acts are totally selfish. They are so because they are done in satisfaction of urges. For instance, a person in love has two reasons for being generous. 1. She wants to please her love and get love in return. 2. She is afraid of losing her loved one, and is willing to pay a price to tie up her feeling. All other reasons are derivatives of these motivations. For our purpose, altruism must be seen as a state of mind. You come first, but you wish the best for your fellow men and the entire world. There is more to altruism than supplying material things. Caring for others is the most precious gift one can give. The rest follows automatically. The worst terrorist could and, usually, rightly consider himself a good and generous person. He could feel noble for giving up his entire life for the success of his cause. According to his religious beliefs, he could feel a saint and a martyr, believing that his actions will earn him and his family a blissful life in heaven while his loved ones will have their material needs met during all their lives. He may also be full of hate for his enemies, but his creator is the intelligence who has included such emotions in his creation. This form of reasoning takes us back to the question of reality. What we perceive as reality is not necessarily others people's ones. That man you see as a monster, others see him as a hero ready to die for a cause he believes in. Our perceptions are very personal and unique. See real life as a dream where others exist only for the duration of your dreams. The morning after, should you ask someone why he did what he did, and said what he said, in your dream, he wouldn't be able to answer your question. You saw him, even touched him in your dream, but, according to him, he did not exist in the form you describe. You're the only one with that knowledge. Make no mistake, you're on your own. However, you can get as much help as you can take. One sure way of getting it is to start giving a lot of help yourself. Spread happiness and you will be rewarded with more happiness. Let's now revert back to the notion of pure selfishness to repeat what I already expressed using different terms. Human beings are perfectly selfish, but nature has its own way of compelling us to share with our fellow men. Happiness is kept out of our hands for as long as we do not share with our likes. We need our fellow men for everything. Think for a while of a life on earth that would be entirely yours. All riches would be yours. You would own all the land, no sharing. Nobody to fight you and nobody to appreciate, admire and love you. Living only for oneself is a dreary perspective. We are lucky to have someone to share our good fortune. Compulsive and obsessive disorder. What is the common denominator of people suffering of a compulsive obsessive disorder? The psychiatrist and neurologist's answer to the question is, all of them have a concentration of abnormal neurotransmitters in their brain which makes them uncomfortable with their life. In order to better understand the situation, one must agree that, to some extent, we are all compulsive and obsessive people. The quality is in the nature of man. Each of us is passionate and compulsive in one field or another. Some of these traits are not disturbing while others are so excessive as to constitute a serious disorder. Here is an opinion that does not contradict the medical science but offers quite a different view. Members of the group that are considered victim of the disorder have been invaded by an immaterial entity that suppresses immediate reality and intoxicates the victim with irresistible obsessions and compulsions. Let us imagine these living things of another world in the form of spiritual viruses. Knowing that all these people suffer from a form of mental/physical and/or psychological and/or spiritual disorder, let's ask ourselves the following questions. Should we judge and treat them using our regular strict standards? Should we place them behind metal bars or in a hospital? Should we seek penalties or offer forgiveness? Should we de-responsibilize them or make them accountable for their actions? The previous questions converging towards the same reasoning, with the intention of adding to the confusion before bringing more light, let's add one more question. Q. What do we do with a mad dog that cannot be trained or treated? A. Even animal lovers concede that the animal must be restrained or terminated. I know of parents willing to risk that children come within the reach of vicious animals. Alcoholics, drug addicts and compulsive players can also be very dangerous people. An alcoholic behind the wheel of a car is a killer out in the street. Most drug addicts will do anything to obtain the drug that will appease their addiction. It is our duty to take reasonable and appropriate measure to help these people while protecting potential victims. As a philosopher, I can argue that these unfortunate persons act the way nature intends them to act. These people respond to stimuli beyond their control instilled in their organisms. They are victims of a faulty construction or a malfunction of their brain and therefore should not be held morally responsible for their behavior. Neurologists and psychiatrists could argue the same and hold them exempt from being answerable. Rapists and serial killers will fall into the same medical category. They suffer from a disorder that affects behavior. Lawyers defending such people will argue that their clients are totally innocent of the consequences of a disease that have affected their brain. Some will even claim that the society must be held fully accountable for not having fulfilled its obligation towards the accused, and will hold it financially and socially liable for all actions committed by their client. The man in the street will have various opinions, excusing one man and condemning the other. Some will understand, others will be confused. Does restraining these people or sitting them on the electric chair solve the problem? More importantly, should we look for penalties and revenge? Should we be understanding and tolerant? Should we be tough and make them pay for their crimes? Should we, as advocated by some, make them all financially responsible to the last dollar, while limiting their freedom of work? In many cases, such would translate into a form of life sentence without help of a normal life. What we usually call a second chance being totally eliminated. Times change and so do perceptions of sins and offenses. Some 50 years ago, in my country, male homosexuals were prosecuted, and after having been declared guilty of crime, were fined and sentenced to jail. Many careers and lives were destroyed this way. Oddly though, during the same period, I never heard of women and priests being prosecuted for the same offense. Things have really changed since. Priests are now being severely judged and sentenced for those very crimes they could not have been touched for, a few decades ago. The situation has evolved, but in many countries, homosexuality is still a crime. Many religions and religious people still condemn, punish and ostracize homosexuals. Here is my view about this situation. 1. These people are being given a very tough lesson and there is no way for them to avoid it. 2. You are being exposed to this situation because you also have a lesson to learn. 3. Whoever you are, don't make the mistake of assuming you are chosen to solve these people's problems. 4. If these people do not present a danger to you or themselves or anybody else, don't get involved unless they really offend public morality or intentionally adopt a provocative behavior, or you could commit a serious prejudice. 5. Most interveners fighting homosexuality are acting out of religious beliefs or just because they cannot understand and accept that people can be so different from them. This unnecessary infringement on personal freedom is the expression of a narrow mind and a lack of tolerance. If they are themselves judged with the same severity they use against their fellow men, they will pay a high price for their harshness. I wish you realize that obsessive-compulsive people active in what we rightfully consider reprehensible or even criminal activities have not chosen to be what they are. Nature is the power and intelligence that have created them what they are, and most of them, if they were ever offered a choice, would be more than happy to become normal people, acting within the range of socially acceptable standards. This obsessive-compulsive disorder they suffer from is so overwhelming that it becomes impossible for them not to do what it requires them to do to satisfy the horrible virus that is poisoning their mind, and their whole life. Victim or bystander, life is offering you an opportunity to learn a new lesson. Mull it over until you reach a state of perfect harmony with the schoolmaster. The moment you will understand that the Creator has made all this on purpose and with your long-term best interests in mind, you will come to peace with similar situations and go for a new task to fulfill. The best advice to those in search of an attitude to adopt is hereby summarized: be tough on bad people and be nice to good ones. Life is no Garden of Eden and nature is very demanding. Being tough on bad people will force them to refrain from acting that way, while niceness will encourage people to behave themselves. Avoid, whenever possible, being the moral judge of a fellow man, because this man could very well be you in other circumstances. What seems to be another person may actually be you, caught on a film replayed by your master. Be strong while being good and nice. Be supportive while developing independence. Be socially responsible, but always remember that you are not responsible for society but for yourself alone. You are your brother's keeper, but living your own life is your priority. Take example on the safety rules in an airplane. Put the oxygen mask on your face first. You will then be in a much better situation to help any other person that could require your help. These are the intricate intrinsic laws of nature. Like them or not, you don't write the rules and you don't need to understand and be pleased with them. Your opinion is not even solicited, though that could come later. In other words, do your best and place your confidence in nature. She knows best. Let's see it again from a human perspective. Being tolerant and forgiving is a splendid quality, but playing shy and non-interventionist about abusive people is being extremely coward and selfish. It allows bad people to repeat their mistakes. It is your moral duty to take action and prevent the repeat of the abuse you were victim of. The ethical questions treated here may be thought to be inappropriate, but I beg to differ. Reshuffling the mind and searching for our ultimate goal requires that we develop our abilities to see the world upside down and from an angle different from the one we are used to. The stages of existence. Any creation, whatever its kind, goes through different sequences of existence. Before becoming a tangible reality, it must be desired by its creator. It is a prerequisite. It is then built and incorporated into reality as a component of the universe. When completed, it lives its normal life, the duration we perceive varying from anything close to 0 milliseconds to eons. Its existence is terminated and its components dispersed and made available to form new creations. It is interesting to realize that every creation in our universe grows in itself the germ of its own destruction. From our human point of view, nothing lasts forever in a stable state. It seems like there is a beginning and an end to everything one can think of. Sooner or later everything will be transformed into something else. Matter of fact, everything is aging, which means each and every part of the creation is evolving non-stop. Applying a philosophical point of view, I see this entire process of renewal as a never-interrupted development into a favorable evolution. It is impossible to pinpoint at what moment or place the desire was formed, because the components of that wish are also the product of a continuity that seem to have no identifiable source. The roots of the intention can be traced back deeper and deeper, while they disperse into ever tinier rootlets that finally get lost in the universe the way the wake of a ship vanishes into an ocean after its passage. On the opposite end of the spectrum a similar phenomenon takes place as while life goes on forever and ever, in an endless loop, where the past meets the present and goes on with its incessant renewal and evolution. Death, my friend. Your actual life is a dream. It is not more or less real than a night dream. When it will be over, you will perceive and remember it the very same way you perceive and remember your nocturnal dreams. Your life will come to an end just the way a dream is terminated. You will open your eyes in a different dimension of the universe and realize that what you perceived as hard reality was made of a substance that you describe as your imagination in your present state of being. This life, just like your dreams, will end in a peaceful, quiet, and pleasant way, or it will end at a moment you will feel in great distress and a lot of pain, not unlike the nightmare you were in when you suddenly got out of a completely desperate situation. Your awakening in another layer of the universe will then be quite lovely. I consider death a most faithful friend. Death will never let me down. It will not go away without me, and I am grateful to my Creator for that. The certainty of death is quite reassuring. I can understand why so many people fear death. They dread the unknown. They have not yet come to terms with life and its purpose. They don't know the ultimate reason for their being and fear the next stage of existence. They are acting out of fear instead of confidence. They usually prefer not to brush the subject of the meaning of life. In the most desperate situations, death shows up and terminates our classes in school Earth. Without death, there is no hope. Humans could live up to 80, 90 or 100 years in a relative state of health and forever in a state of unimaginable despair. Our Creator has been good to us. He has devised means to end the human experience. This automatic mechanism will take us to another dimension of the universe, where we will be promoted to higher functions. The event should surprise nobody. It is just the familiar process of evolution. Remember, nothing is created and nothing is lost in the universe. Life is tough on us. But whatever the difficulties, we are assured that it will come to pass. Life can be seen as an isolated isle where humans are trapped in, but at least we know that death will ultimately come and save us. Suicide, the convenient exit. Suicide is a generous option, another great gift of God. Man has not invented suicide. It is an option provided by the Creator should the situation become unbearable. The Master has provided human beings with an emergency exit for us to break out of desperate situations. To use it or not is your choice and nobody else's business. Suicide can be imagined as an emergency return to the cruising ship for those who got in real difficulties during their excursion on Earth. Religious people preach against suicide, declaring it a sin. Yet, they will also tell you that God is generous, that He will forgive you all your sins. These arguments are self-contradictory in many ways. If paradise comes after death, why do they try to prevent you from reaching it as soon as possible? They talk about God's unlimited generosity and forgiveness, but they fear Him, and dread His punishments should they fail Him in some way. These stands are inconsistent. I say, forget about religions, and forget about the right-thinking people who intend to deprive you of your freedom and free will. This is your life, and nobody has the right to interfere and tell you what to think and do. Had the Creator not wanted this option to exist, it would not have been made available to us. If the option of suicide is the Creator's doing, also incorporated in our nature are the rules concerning its use. Humans know instinctively that this exit must be used only as a last resort under unbearable circumstances. So, I'm not, in fact, advocating that suicide should be considered lightly. It is the very last resort. My opinion, however, is that it is not a sin, and no human will suffer punishment for using an option granted by the Master's own will. However, offering help to a person bent on suicide is a very generous act that I fully support and encourage. To those who will certainly disagree with my views on suicide, I say this: don't tell me that life is worth living under any conditions. You know nothing about the situation. You don't know the destiny that governs this person. You don't know if she has completed her studies in this world, or the reasons or circumstances she is operating in. You don't know if it isn't God who wants it this way, because should this be against His plan, He has the power to prevent it. Let's express the rule governing the proper use of the option of suicide. It is to be used only under extreme circumstances. There can be no training for this one, and there will be no retry. Suicide is a serious matter, but all humans know that instinctively. Understanding the metamorphosis of reality. Understanding the notion of metamorphosis of reality is difficult for a majority of people. I will reduce it to a very simple example. While composing text on my computer, I create a reality, the text itself. When it comes to a second draft, I can treat it in several ways. Change it and keep all former versions available for recall, or I can delete, replace, and save the corrections, crushing the former text and replacing it with the newly created one. What is erased is gone forever, irretrievable. It is the same with our lives. It is possible for us to change and remember the past. It is also possible to go much deeper, pop up in a new reality, erasing the past without a trace of memory. This is realized mainly when the past reality would be incompatible with the new one. In our world, we manage the computer, but at the universe's level, man is more like a sentence in a text than the writer and operator of the machine. Modifying a life is like adding a bucket of water into an ocean. As soon as it is done, the whole ocean consumes the alteration and the pail of water just added loses its former condition forever. Within its field of authority, the potential for change in a person's life is without boundaries. Yet a number of conditions have to be met for a dream to become a reality. No alteration will ever take place without a reason to be. Let me tell you the short story of the pop star Celine Dion, who is an inspiration for French-speaking Canadians and a lot of other people all around the world. To the Quebecers, she is Celine, and most have the feeling that they know her personally. Why is that so? The answers lie in Celine's traits of personalities. Mrs. Dion is a genuine, generous, friendly and nice person. She can get about anything money can buy, yet she has not lost her human sensitiveness. I am quoting Celine Dion as an example, not because she is a pop star but because she represents the keenest of evidence that fairy tales are sometimes made true. Celine was born in a very modest family. She attempted a regular public small-town school. She could rely on no highly placed relation to push her up the ladder in the artistic community or anywhere else. The girl was enjoying three elements that would allow her to walk out of an ordinary and possible dull life. They were, A. She was gifted as an artist. B. She had a mother who, though not highly educated, had dreams, vision, and guts. C. Celine had an exceptional willpower and was nursing her own dream. Early in life, the child and her mother were dreaming of a future for Celine. That dream was intense, emotional and sustained. What was different with this dream was that the dreamers, united in their goal, were working seriously on its transformation into a reality. Celine's mother would write a song for her daughter, "Now via a dream." She would contact influential agents and try to convince them that her daughter had a talent for singing. Slowly, very slowly, though being scorned by many of her co-citizens, Celine emerged from the crowd and transformed into one of the most successful and respected artists in the world. I hear people saying loudly, "You're talking about a person exceptionally gifted by nature." It's not the same with me. I've got no special talents. You're wrong. You don't understand the meaning of my words. Celine's fate was hers to accomplish and yours is different. Celine was successful with her life and so can you. You're a different person with a different destiny. I want you to understand that nature has provided you with some freedom to use at will in order to perform your role as a human. You're an actor. Your role is defined within certain limits, but the way you play it is your choice. Let me tell you this. There are clowns among kings, and there are kings among clowns. A good actor can earn the best reward playing the character of a humble servant, as a lousy one will fail miserably in the skin of a rich prince. The role you are playing as a human is no guarantee of happiness. The way you play it is. We poor humans have not invented all possibilities. We are only entitled to use and adapt a very small number of them to fit our human situation. Scientists have correctly taught us that nothing is created and nothing is lost in our universe. Humans have the capacity to discover, adopt and adapt what actually does exist in their universe. Man has not created any part of any universe. All building blocks destined to form a physical of metaphysical creation already exist. The same can be said for all principles and notions, whatever their type or variety. Man has not created bad and good, justice and injustice, the desire for changes, heroes and villains, love and hate, the need to eat, the feeling of satiety, the possibilities for particles to agglutinate, reshape, transform, expand and grow into something larger or more refined. To humans, all these principles and notions are raw material they may and can use to alter the composition of the universe they live in, but, for the sake of this explanation, it must be considered man never created anything. If you have ever seen photos of galaxies in movement, you have certainly noticed that they form and move in ways very similar to hurricanes on Earth. Even at this level, the pattern repeats itself. Reality is not frozen forever. It can metamorphose. The question is how? The problem with understanding or accepting this concept lies in our inability to remember the most dramatic changes. Man can see through polished clear glass, but he cannot see through most other solid matter. The existence of the possibility of substituting a reality for another is certainly difficult to grasp, but is in fact highly plausible for people trained in the metaphysical fields. But for a few geniuses, one doesn't become a great musician without devoting a lot of efforts and sacrifices to the profession. Scientists are the only ones who know for sure that neutrinos are a reality. We place our confidence in them. Only a few amid us hold some evidence that reality can be changed. Trust me on this one. It's a fact. Time has come to revert to this actual reality that is yours. You have created your reality, you are responsible for your current situation, good or bad. Your perception of your environment is also your own creation. You have the capacity to design for yourself a new reality, change everything you want to. All this is part or playing your role in the theater of humanity. You are justified in being skeptical. So far, you have just been told, over and over, that you should declare yourself satisfied with your condition. I tell you, change only what you want to improve and disregard what you hear from others. They only represent the mirror of your own being. You hear through them what your subconscious wants you to hear. What you need to do now is exert more influence on your subconscious mind. Elastic time. The notion of time I refer to here is a concept that is different of the mechanic of clocks. Humans cannot measure it because it has the capacity to expand and retract according to one's unique situation. The idea that time is expansible and contractible is overwhelming. Albert Einstein was the scientist/physicist who shocked the whole world, including the entire scientific community, with his theory of general relativity. Einstein discovered that time and space are, or is, not linear but curved. More recently, prominent scientists have gone further, offering evidence that space and time were finite, that there was a beginning of time and there will be an end. The theory is valid for our universe. How is it that time had a beginning and will have an end? It is inconceivable. What was there before and what will there be after? Nothing? Before that time there was no time, and afterward, there will be no present, no past and no future. This is a scientific theory, supported by scientific observations and evidences. Time and space form one unique dimension. They are not only related, they are also curved. Starting at point zero, after expanding and contracting, they will terminate their existence together and simply vanish. At that moment, space and time will cease to exist. Mind-boggling, isn't it? The theory of relativity could be right, but it is my firm opinion that it doesn't tell the whole story. My conviction is that time is a creation that is born out of others to serve a definite purpose. When it will have completed its role, it will be recycled into something else. Scientists considering the phenomenon from this limited angle can rightly come to the conclusion that the space-time notion is finite. I still sustain that it is impossible for us to learn where the universe comes from, what it is made of, and what entity created it, but to affirm that it represents a continuum. Not unlike any other creation, when it will have fulfilled its mission it will simply and gradually evolve and be recycled into something different. The process of evolution spares no one and nothing. Time is subject to its fate just as stars and just as human beings are. However, the last word has not been spoken yet, and that moment is far into the future as humans perceive it. My own observation of time has made me believe that time is not the same for everyone. Forget your clock. Time is expansible, contractible, and molds to every person and every situation independently. Time is perception rather than reality. Every independent organism treats time differently. We know that happiness is a state of mind, that the same event can make one happy and the other miserable. So is time, a flexible and adaptable personal perception. Once more, the notion is difficult to master but no more shocking than the concept of finite time and space. If asked to explain, scientists would probably say, time expands or contracts according to a number of physical factors in a defined situation. Time varies with conditions, and so, a clock running during the Big Bang that created this universe would not show the same result as one running on the criteria of this era. In fact, no scientist can fully explain the phenomenon, and neither can I. However, we can affirm with certainty that our universe was born from a creation the size of a playing ball, where time and space were quite different from what we now experience. If we follow this line of reasoning, we have to conclude that, at a certain point in the past, there was no time, no space, no energy, and no substance, which leads us to an irresolvable moot point. Such reasoning takes us back to the question of reality. Is reality the same for everybody? The answer to this question is a resounding no. What I perceive as reality is unique to me. The same goes with time. My perception of time is different from anyone else's. Clocks are based on repetitive events but cannot register the flexibility integrated within the notion of time. Time is personal. It is flexible and varies according to various situations and emotions. Reality is also a perception absolutely unique to any living type of creation. Consider this: of the billions and billions of snowflakes falling each year, no two are the same. Each and every snowflake is unique. I'll go further and say that all elements composing that unique snowflake are also unique, none being the faithful replica of any other. There are billions of people and animals on Earth, and no two of them are absolutely alike. Each of us is unique. I'm also sure that each and every one of our components, even the smallest, differentiates itself from any other. All clocks on Earth do register the same time, which is a convention based on the revolution of our planet around the sun day. This measure of time is like measuring physical resistance and resiliency by counting the number of steps a man takes in a period of time, without taking into account many other factors like weight, slope, gravity, wind, fatigue, the resistance of the ground, and so on. The time I refer to is like a rubber band, expansible and contractible, but when you let it go after use, it returns to its original shape and length. Older people will tell you that time goes by at a variable pace. Its duration feels longer or shorter at different periods in the course of their lives. As a rule, at young ages, time is stretched, while it shrinks in old age. If they're particularly happy, the elderly feel time pass quickly. Under conditions of restraint, disease and suffering, it seems to last forever. The elasticity of time is comparable to the plasticity of reality. From one universe to another, wormholes. A few years ago, while reading various articles on the subject of the universe, I was astounded to learn that a number of prominent physicists were talking freely of some of their most unusual theories about the reality of universe. I was most impressed with what Stephen Hawking, described by some as the most prominent genius of this world, had to say, at the time, about wormholes. Wormholes, if we would ever deliberately use them, would allow us to travel from one universe to another, location, time and distance as we imagine them becoming totally irrelevant. Such a possibility is very much associated with my own uninformed theory and affirmation that reality, if not necessarily constant and frozen, I venture in an area that has not been evoked by Mr. Hawking when I declare that it is possible for us to alter the current reality using the power of our mind and brain. Personal experiences lead me to believe that the phenomenon is not only possible but that we realize it on a regular basis, in one way or another, without being conscious of the fact. All is left for us to do is to learn to create it on purpose. We human beings are all in quest of happiness. This propensity is natural, for happiness is our ultimate existential goal. If you change your perception of a situation and this can make you happy, wouldn't you be thoroughly pleased with it? The answer is obvious. To achieve such a state and discover happiness, one must understand that what he perceives to be someone else's realities may very well be his own, and only that. A difficult concept for you to digest? Not if you work on it for a while. Do not place your sentiments on the back burner, this would lead you to a dead end. Merely try and understand that your reality could be quite different from what others perceive. Before going further, I invite you to read what physicists have to say about matter and antimatter particles. You will learn that for each particle of matter there is an antimatter one. Whenever one comes in contact with the other, they annihilate themselves. These are not wacky new theories by weirdos. These particles were first detected in 1932. Let me state an incredible fact about our universe: it is made of two groups of elements. We see the one we are associated with as positive and the opposite as negative. To each one the other side is evil because its objective, purpose and mission are in full and perfect opposition to the other. Such knowledge takes us to a level of understanding very few have reached before. From the other side's point of view, though we think highly of us, we represent the bad side. When I think as a philosopher, I realize that each and every creature of this world does exactly the same thing I do in running his life. It does the best it can. Unfortunately, in a way, in my daily life, I am inclined to be rather practical, and I strive to make a living, the best I can, in a very competitive world. The conflict is inevitable, and to my opponents, I, sometime, become the bad guy. Let us revert to neutrinos. These spin particles are everywhere in our world. They travel through matter, through you and me. They can and do constantly go through our own planet without being disturbed or detected. Very particular experiments have shown evidences of their passage through the whole diameter of the Earth. Will you agree with me on this one? We have some knowledge of the world we live in, but to a limited extent. There is nothing to be surprised about by the possibilities our universe can offer us. According to physicists, your skin, your brain, the neutrons, the minerals, the gases, the stars, are all built with the very same building block, the quark. And that particle, what is it made of? Where does it come from? What intelligence makes it a reality? Now close your eyes and try to perceive what you are part of. Our universe is absolutely wonderful and startling. So is your life. So is the potential of your mind. Travel from one universe to another. Quit the negative side of existence and transport yourself to the brighter area of a universe that exists at exactly the same place and moment where you are. That is, go from one somber reality to a sunny one. Both are located within your mind. 87. The reality of your life is not fixed forever. The concept of malleable reality is really the cornerstone of any new structure that you want to build in replacement of any present reality you wish to replace with a more pleasant one. If you cannot dream, imagine, and plan a substitute, you will remain imprisoned in the present one for lack of real desire to really improve your situation. If you have no dream and no plan about building a new house, you will remain trapped in the old one because, at the level of the mind, trading or buying is not an acceptable option. To your subconscious mind, which is the entity that holds the power to create new conditions of life for you, the absence of a strong, sustained, and clearly imagined wish is equivalent to the acceptance of the present situation. Daydreams are made of a substance that requires working over, to be shaped and fixed willingly if one wishes them to transform into something more tangible to be incorporated into a daily life. Life's reality dreams already have a more stable form, but the substance is malleable and can be altered in many ways. Elderly people, as a rule, experience, much more often than younger ones, the blurring of the border that separates this plan from the next. They go from one side of life to the other many times each day. Walking closer to the end of one's life, quite often, also means living closer to the dividing line and crossing it more and more often, almost as if one had to get used to his future abode in preparation for a moving that will inevitably come. It is my opinion that we are, down here, to learn and experience situations that we are not always comfortable with. It is obvious to me that our human condition is elastic, ephemeral and elusive. We are given some leeway in the homework we must create. We have some flexibility in the type of experiences we must live through. See yourself as a good student who is willing to go beyond his basic assignment. Your teacher, far from being displeased, would encourage and support your initiative. If you have this desire to go beyond the basic lessons of life, by all means, proceed with your own selection of alternative experience. That is very appealing. You can work on topics and matters of our choice. You can go through the required courses at fast speed and dive into those subjects you have a strong attraction for. What will be your choice? Will you aim at a notch above your current position, or will you prefer a static base? In response to a great curiosity I made it my choice to try to improve my whole organism, body and mind. It worked and is still working. Never in my life I felt better, never I felt happier. I have and I am still enriching my life. I feel good, I feel well, I feel as happy as I can be on earth while coming ever closer to a perfect state of harmony with nature. A human life may be a long corridor of opportunities, but even the fences limiting our action are expandable. One is permitted to push them further, widen the field of activities he intends to explore and conduct new enriching experiments. Our human condition can be improved either by ourselves or by a third party. You could wait for someone to catch a fish and give it to you, or you could learn to fish by yourself. Selecting the first option could alleviate your burden for a very short while. Learning how to improve your condition permanently will help you grow dramatically. If you are of the first type, your future is doomed. If you find yourself in the second lot and have the will, the courage and the guts, try the PPW way. Very early in the process, you will reap the benefit of this new way of thinking and acting. You will acquire the capacity to reshape the negative aspects of your reality and make them acceptable and enriching at the same time. Creating a richer daily life for yourself. It is now up to you. Are there realities in your life that you wish to get rid of? There are possibilities here. One thing most people don't realize when a change in reality takes place is that the former reality is usually erased. Unless you have reached a rather high state of awareness of the spiritual world, you will not be conscious of the change and nobody else will notice. It is like a word deleted and replaced in this text on my computer. Only the new reality exists, the preceding one is wholly obliterated. To you, the reader, it has never existed. The great question is, how can I modify the realities, past and present, of my life? The answer is, by working on it in an intelligent, methodical, and sustained way. Reality is a perception of the mind. Reality is a piece of information stored in your own brain. Forget about other people's. Their realities are not yours and yours is not theirs. Some unexploited, even unexplored capabilities have been incorporated in your organism. Scientists have often evidenced that even the most gifted amid us use only a small percentage of their intellectual and physical potential. Knowing that we have such potential is interesting, yet it won't be of much help unless one learns to put it to good use. I have discovered this potential through a very long process of trial and error. I would have much appreciated being taught and trained by a master rather than becoming a self-made practitioner. I could have reached the situation I am in now quite a long time ago. What do we know of the universe? Nature is so complex and startling that a non-initiated person can only feel baffled, dumbfounded and overwhelmed when serious questions about it are raised. What do we know about the content of the universe? What do we know about the capabilities of the universe? What do we know about worlds and dimensions hidden to our eyes and perception? What do we know about the dimensions of the universe? What do we know about the micro and the overall limitations of the universe, if any? What do we know about the creator of the universe? Let us be more humble. What do we know about ourselves? Astronomers have recently discovered a new planet at a 450 light-years distance from Earth. The information received is extremely old. Light that carried the info received had to travel for 450 years at the speed of light to reach us. So I wonder what happened to this celestial body since the time the info began its voyage in space. The new planet has been named HATP-1. The odd thing with this planet is that it is the least dense planet ever discovered. It is so fluffy that it could float on an ocean of water. Such particularity implies that a number of theories about the formation of planets have to be revised. Once more, scientists are baffled. A situation that will see no end. We have a little knowledge of our universe, but when confronted to the universality of its content, we have to say, pitifully, not much. It is obvious to me that though we are progressing in the knowledge of the universe, we do not master it yet. My guess is that we have more water to tread before we are called to become part of the management structure. Scientists are still making new discoveries all the time, and no one has ever seen what could look like a frontier or a limitation of any kind. Once again, we humans are facing our own worldly limitations that, luckily, we keep pushing further. Till this class is over for us all, such is our duty and destiny. What is common knowledge today was unthinkable of 100 years ago. The more we advance, the more we discover, and the more we discover that there is no limit in sight. It seems like we are much more ignorant of the possibilities of our universe than we know about. To our human mind, most of the existing creations are and will remain unknown and limitless forever. I firmly believe that the universe we live in, as far as we are concerned, has no border and is endless. Scientists are looking for an end that does not exist. There is no such thing as the smallest particle of which everything else is made of. There is no such thing as the most complex organism or system in our whole universe. These notions have to be replaced by the idea of a continuum. There is no beginning and no end. We can now conclude that nothing is impossible. Some have rather limited capabilities in some areas while others can accomplish much more. One can already see that every human has his own reality, this one being different from any other. Your inside and outside intelligences. Here I will allow myself to be personal about you. The questions I put on your behalf are, why do I not perform better? Why do I not reach all my goals? Why do I not always get the results I am looking for? Why can I not cure my diseases and solve all problems I am confronted with? The simple answer is, nature knows better than you what is good for you. So, it will grant you some of your wishes while barring others. This decision cannot be contested. The more complex answer is twofold. A. Your inner and partly unconscious desires are often at conflict with some of the goals you are aiming at. In other words, a part of you says I want this, while another part says I want that. B. Your subconscious mind cannot understand what you really want. There are multiple meanings in the message transmitted to the inner you, and the whole is not coherent. It is also possibly conflicting with the ultimate goal of your life. Let's try to more extensively decipher A. I here act as the mouse in the lab and place my case study at your disposal. I practice PPW on a daily basis with a number of rather well-defined goals. Example, I suffer from various diseases including a serious heart condition that I want to overcome. If I don't intervene, the rest of my life could be rather short and dull. Hence, I am at odds with a number of things. I don't care much about my own life. I am not very much bound to this planet. However, I am very grateful to my wife for having been my very best friend and such a wonderful associate for so many years. I know she dreads loneliness and I have made a serious commitment to her. I have made her this vow: I will accompany you in this life for as long as possible. Well, if I am to live many more years, I want them to be, for her as well as for myself, as pleasant as they can be. We now have a potential conflict deep inside me. I have already expressed to my subconscious my lack of wish to go living forever, while the reason keeps saying, let's build health and a revitalized body because I want a future. Fortunately, so far, the reason has had the upper hand on this one. The subconscious objections and rebellions have all been overcome. The problem extends further. My inner self surrenders and objects at the same time, but, you don't want to be a prisoner of this good health forever, isn't it? The contradiction here is very meaningful, and there is more. Something inside is somewhat eager to live the experience of death. It keeps expressing in its own way that this mystic experience, that can prove to be so difficult at the human level, is rich of promises on the spiritual one. The basic normal role of my subconscious mind is to keep my body alive for as long as possible. My inner mate seems to tell me that, in the past, I insisted for a reprogramming allowing that it ends its task earlier. I feel no propensity for suicide as a way out. My desires are obviously conflicting and this prevents me from fully benefiting from everything I could get from PPW. However, I am not willing to let go of my objectives yet. So far I have coped. Isn't life a perpetual conflict, anyway? Those appalled by my views on life should revisit the preceding pages of this book. And now B. Under certain circumstances, exchanging messages with your subconscious intelligence can prove an uneasy task. I will compare this to a conversation with an animal. Notwithstanding the hundreds of years we have lived in close relation with some species, we do not yet have a common language that each party understands fully. To such comment one could add that it is the same with humans. We establish a form of communication with animals through words, tones, moves, attitudes, signs, body language, habits and so on. The more you work with an animal, the more you standardize your codes of communication, the more you understand each other. Use similar elements and the same ways to communicate efficiently with your inner self. If you are unpredictable, the meeting of minds will not be reached easily. I here remind you that a human being is only one of the numerous species in the animal world. At this point you have surely realized that your conscious and your unconscious intelligences do not always use the same code of communications. Quite understandable. If they were the same, one would have been a spare. Your different intelligences are meant for different purposes. A different program or set of codes is used by each of them. They remember me of a financier chatting with a doctor in medicine, each one using his own jargon. Neither being fluent in the language used by the other party, they may have problems understanding each other. You dog or cat will never be fluent in humanese, nor will you ever fully understand your pet's language. How efficient your communication will be depends largely on how much you work on it. Getting friendly with your unconscious intelligence is just like getting friendly with your pet. The potential exists with some limitations. A very important question remains still unanswered: how do I convey to my subconscious mind the request I want him to understand? The answer is, be imaginative, be understanding, and be patient. Present your desire to your inner body in a way similar to the one you would use to communicate with your pet, if you have one, or to a foreigner who do not fluently understand your language if you don't. You have to find a way to strike the imagination while suiting both sides of your personality. Some of us can easily accommodate of common formulas while others have to elaborate their own. If you want your requests to your subconscious counterpart to be turned into reality, the information contained in the above paragraph is not to be forgotten. In Book A, I will elaborate extensively on the subject of communication. My opinion to the effect that the mind can influence, even shape, the brain is shared by a number of scientists who have conducted numerous experiments in the field. They came to the same conclusion I reached as to the conditions that have to be met in order to transform a desire into a reality. One must keep focusing on the intention. The visualization of the new reality to be must be sustained for periods long enough to grow roots in the brain and starts the process of growing new physical structures in your gray and white matter. There is more, however, and the topic will be covered. The waves. The learning of a skill, the development of an aptitude as well as the evolving of an individual progress in a pattern similar to waves. The sea is extremely powerful and nothing can contain its fury when the storm breaks out. Yet its power manifests itself in waves. It operates in crests and troughs. It dashes ahead, recedes, and resumes the same pattern tirelessly. Human progression is usually achieved with similar movements. We have moments of success that are achieved rather quickly. We become elated with our condition. Everything is going well. Then comes the inevitable trough where men are separated from the boys. The weaklings give up while the brave, far from surrendering, just fight harder. Save for a few, humans tend to improve through high and lows. You know it will come. Keep help and keep fighting, even harder if you can. You will be rewarded, for nature leaves no efforts unrecognized. The possibilities of time travel. The most reputed of our scientists are still debating the possibility of time travel. Many are of the opinion that we should not discard such theory. It doesn't seem on the verge of realization, and so far we have seen nobody from a faraway past or the future. The notion hides two possibilities that, to my knowledge, have never been expressed before. 1. If our future has been changed by entities from the future, all we see is the new future. This future could be modified as many times as these intelligences would keep traveling back to our past or present. 2. The reality we perceive can be modified at will, this new reality totally eclipsing the former one. Such a notion brings about the idea that there could be no past and no future. These human perceptions then becoming void of real meaning, our past could be our future and vice versa. The situations I just evoked are not as preposterous as they seem at first glance. For many hours each day we dream of events and situations that have no consequences in our state of wakefulness. Most of them are totally forgotten even before we switch back to awareness. If, according to some time-space theorizers, it is possible to live back our lives or parts of it, it also becomes possible to modify these parts, erase the errors we have made and replace them with more noble and glorious achievements. Of course, according to the same notion, one can see his future. If the future and the past can be confounded, it could mean that time is a notion very different than what we, humans, perceive. I'm not as sure as I was in my younger days that my past life must be considered as seriously as I did. What I considered a frozen reality could very well be improved in the future. In the process, all my mistakes would be corrected and replaced with more gratifying stuff. One interesting point in the notion of time travel is that it creates for us the possibility of correcting our errors of the past while projecting the new reality in the future. The idea is consistent with the view that life is a learning process. According to Stephen Hawking, this learned English I mentioned previously, the subject should be discussed without their debaters being exposed to scorn. The idea I just exposed may seem a serious contradiction of the theory that everything is subject to evolution, but as semantic trap is no reason to discard any idea that contributes to our education and evolution. The network mind. Could the human mind be connected to a higher intelligence that is sending its commands wirelessly? Are human minds receiving messages from superior intelligence entities? Do we all have in our brain or mind a voice/text mailbox that is operating so silently that we do not perceive it? We don't know for sure, but it looks like a very good explanation to some of the following questions. Where do our thoughts come from? How are our ideas generated? Who is the creator of life that is capable of reproducing itself while developing and improving? What is the purpose of life? No creation, whatever its nature, can come to life without a link connecting it to its creator. Nothing is created from absolute void. Humans and animals have ancestors and, in a way, so have minerals, vegetables and gases. Waves have a source from which they spring out. The possibilities of the universe are infinite. Nonetheless, an intelligent entity has created it, an intelligence being way beyond our comprehension. Be your own psychologist. Am I suggesting here that you cancel your appointments with your psychologist, psychoanalyst, psychiatrist, or any other spy? No, no, no. These professionals have education, competences, experience, and abilities that deserve our full respect, and one should not hesitate to go to them for help when in need. What I mean though is that with proper direction, you can contribute to greatly improve your situation as well as others. Participating in the cure and improvement of your organism can prove to be a valuable knowledge that you will keep with you for your whole life. Using such acquisition of knowledge and ability to assist your fellow men is just another way to spread happiness around and reap some of the benefit that will be paid to your life's account. You should realize that physicians and surgeons have never cured a patient all by themselves. Your organism plays an important role in the cure of any disease or malfunction, and every doctor recognizes that patients participating actively in their treatment get much more satisfactory results in far shorter time frames. Treating your mind is not different. Get all the help you can get. Nevertheless, avoid people you're not comfortable with. Working in association with every help nature offers will ensure much better results while preventing confusion. Improving your capabilities, physical and/or intellectual, changing your behavior for the best and trying to attract more satisfaction and happiness from life are all goals you can achieve on your own with the proper knowledge and ability. No psychologist, psychiatrist or psychoanalyst will ever execute for you the physical or mental endeavors you will have to complete. Life offers no free meal. It's true in more than one way. Psychologists will not cure you directly through physical manipulation or medication. Their job is to help you identify your problems and work with you on potential remedies to apply in order to have your life evolve in full harmony with your personal condition. As a rule, they are very good at doing just that. Let's us discard up front the idea of forcing your subconscious. There are a number of ways to fool your inner partner. In agreement with his role of guardian and defender of your organism, your inner intelligence may seem to bend and comply when the body is submitted to electric shocks, powerful drugs, or punitive treatments, but these means can also lead to serious misunderstandings and confusion between your conscious and subconscious minds. These resources have their merit, but they are risky. I suggest that you leave such tricks to the pros. If you possess some little knowledge and the mental ability to influence your organism, you may very well operate on yourself. Oftentimes, your own entity will be much more responsive to your own suggestions than to those of an outsider. There are no two identical personalities, so each person must answer this question individually. However, we are all aware of the power of suggestions made by people we trust highly. Unless you are seriously confused and perturbed, your conscious brain is, as a rule, the intelligence in which your subconscious one will have the most confidence, and you are therefore in the very best position to exert an influence on your inner associate. We already know that parents exert a strong influence on their children's personality. Hence we are allowed to conclude that parents are the persons most trusted and in the most favorable situation to help their children improve their condition and abilities. Parents must, however, possess the knowledge and ability to intervene with efficiency. I don't have to insist on exceptions, do I? There always are exceptions and special situations. For many people, the psychologist, whoever he is, represents the best alternative. Yet, one has to be able to afford the cost and the time. When this is a problem, one should rather revert to relatives, friends and other help that our modern society provides. Moreover, no opportunity precludes another. In my opinion, this last option is the most intelligent decision to make. One can best benefit from various sources as long as they all pull in the same direction. In his quest for happiness, one must always keep an open mind, taking care not to shut off doors, preferring one way over the others. Examine and analyze carefully before rejecting anything. Guard yourself against prejudices while keeping in mind that every part of this creation contains good and bad. It is your duty and your interest to extract only the good seed and cultivate it. In many instances, medication may be required as part of the solution offered by nature. Don't get it all wrong. Medication is not a devil's invention. It is a natural help offered by universe. Discarding medicine under the pretext that it is not natural is rejecting help offered by the master of the universe. I will now dare give you another piece of advice. Don't fall victim of the following easy traps. A. Refrain from trying to prove that your recipe is the only one because it works well for you. There are many delicious cakes made from various recipes, they suit different tastes and these are infinite. B. Resist the temptation to overdo it. If you create a serious stress for your organism, the result could be negative. Submit only positive elements to your subconscious. Your inner partner must be sure that you are working for the good of your entire organism. C. Avoid all negative thoughts. D. If some exercises prove too demanding and have negative impact, give them up. Look for a more favorable way to convince your guardian angel of the legitimacy of your desire. E. Make sure that you don't place people trying to help you in the situation of having to tell you only what you want and accept to hear. Your unconscious system, though different and independent of your conscious one, is also an intelligent entity. It has its own preoccupations, influences and functions. However, it will never put aside its main role, the protection of the integrality of your physical and mental being, unless an evil spirit intrudes your mind and takes charge. This system is at your service. It has been created and programmed to protect your organism of all attacks, including your conscious mind. Fully playing its role of protector, your subconscious intelligence is particularly sensitive to all material you transmit to it. Psychologists and psychiatrists are very knowledgeable and competent, unfortunately their science isn't an exact one. They cannot prescribe a medication that will solve all your problems within 2 days because it simply doesn't exist. Their success depends on their patients, who often, quite unwillingly, misinform them, even mislead them. It makes sense, doesn't it? If the person consulting a psychologist had been capable of correctly identifying her problems and its causes, most of the time, she would not need professional services. This makes me think that working with people who know you inside out can be very productive. They cannot be fooled as easily. The very best advantage of the auto-psychologist is that it is available day and night, any day of the year. It is free and accessible to anybody with some sense of his own. Some people will argue that these patients are already doing everything they can to solve their problem. I beg to disagree. Not everyone knows that he has, within himself, the power and the knowledge to improve his mental condition. They need to be told, pointed toward the right direction, informed that there is help for them in their own circles. A few good books and advice can guide them in their quest for more happiness and better performance. Very serious studies have demonstrated that one can improve his muscle strength by 15% with daily exercise of mental imagery without any physical exercise. Imagine what you can do by combining physical and mental exercises. Reinforcing the mental using the physical and vice versa does make sense. You can tap the source at will. You can use imagery any moment of the day, for any duration and in any situation. Offering and providing help to others has a double benefit. While you work with others, you learn more than you teach and receive more than you give. This is, for sure, the very best ways to gain happiness. The management structure. I have before likened the formation of the universe to Russian dolls. The systems being integrated one into the other under a unified commandment. Management models describe such organizations as a vertical management structure. We, poor humans, don't rank high enough in the universal management structure to even be shown the full organization chart. Therefore, we are unaware of the number, if limited, of levels under, above, inside, outside or besides us. We are trapped in our doll, and prevented from seeing beyond our little world. But for a few exceptions, and with the intention of making it look simple, we could say that a body of entities under a unified direction governs us human beings. Let's immediately clarify the word exceptions. Multiple personality individuals are victims of multiple heads or split authority management. Others are under the influence of spiritual virus that skew the normal pattern of behavior and introduce erratic conducts totally out of line and reason. These situations constitute the exceptions I was referring to. The rule is, all our components have a life of their own. We are constituted of parts organized on the same model as our whole. Our organism, as a human being, enjoys some independence and all our components benefit of the same. Yet, we operate in perfect symbiosis. One cannot be what he actually is without all others playing their roles. However, it is impossible for a human being to identify each and every piece of the systems he is composed of and describe their role. Each separate system embodies other systems, parts and components that we are obviously unaware of, and hence unable to identify and or define. To exemplify, think of a conversation with a child who asks questions about how babies are made. Whatever your answer, he will continue with, why, how and when, until you come absolutely out of answer. Now that we know a bit more about ourselves, let's revert to our current concrete reality and see how we can use the opportunities placed at our disposal. We are managed mainly by a number of systems referring to us through the subconscious. Notwithstanding, we are at liberty to influence, if not control, some aspects of our life. We are offered the possibility of cooperating more intimately with our subconscious with the intention to improve our condition. By working more closely with our intimate partner boss, we can develop and enjoy substantial benefits by way of additional physical, intellectual and spiritual potential. Those who understand the principle and incorporate it in their lives immensely increase their chance of attaining the state of happiness we all long for. Working in harmony with one's superior offers better chances of success than otherwise. We are not alone in the universe. We are extremely tiny, yet we are important. Here on Earth, we enjoy opportunities to prove that we are capable of climbing the steps to higher management levels. Like employees in an organization, we are expected to learn, improve and perform better and better. We are not really given a choice. A higher entity has obliged us to perform or pay a heavy price for non-compliance. Disobeying or striking is no valuable option. The knowledge of what has just been disclosed makes it possible for you to improve your daily life, alleviate your difficulties, help you become a better person and extract a great deal more happiness and satisfaction from life. Spreading happiness around will just add the magic touch required to really make it happen. Those who believe that their involvement is not worthwhile, that their life is vain, that their absence would make no difference in the humanity are absolutely wrong. You have a role to play in this theater and it needs to be played out fully. It cannot be discarded without disturbing the whole show. I play my role with enthusiasm and find happiness in it. Play yours gracefully, with your mind and your heart wide open. We all have the same importance and the same impact, you and I. And all our fellow men. Honesty and morality. If one is of the impression that he is alone in his universe and that all other creations are only accessories to allow him to carry on his life, why would he care about honesty, legitimacy, faithfulness and other such noble sentiments? The answer to this question is easy: everything you do is for your own selfish benefit. Basically one can argue, with sense, that nobody ever did anything for anybody else. Every act is in satisfaction of your own needs. Helping others has nothing to do with your generosity. For the sake of this chapter, consider yourself as perfectly selfish. You do what you do because you feel an urge to do it. You do it out of love. It's great. Love is a wonderful feeling and you want to preserve it unspoiled. It's good for you. There is no difference in doing something out of love, out of hate, out of guilt, out of vengeance, out of survival needs or for any other reason. You are acting with generosity. It's good. Don't alter your behavior. You do it in response to a need that has manifested itself into your organism. You feel an urge to do something worthy for any kind of reason. Do it. Every positive quality you develop and every positive action you perform contributes to a better life for you. Negative qualities and negative actions tend to poison your life and make you more miserable. Go for the positive choice. Let's pause and ask, why are so many good people so unhappy? The answer: some feel trapped in a state of mind they can't alter or escape. They need a serious reshuffling of the mind. Blockages must be dissolved first. The very basis on which the barriers stand must be smashed using the ideas offered in this book. Or elsewhere. People who are unhappy are trapped in the learning process. The lesson that life is teaching them is not sinking in. Unfortunately for them, life is a very strict teacher. The schoolmaster will keep you in the situation you are in until you understand the lesson, accept it and put it to good use. Acting as a very dedicated teacher, he will continue teaching the same lesson till you master it. Honesty is a great value. Nevertheless, occasions can occur where you should rather lie than tell the truth. Truth is just like reality. Your truth, placed in someone else's mind, could prove false. There is more, however. Imagine yourself, so perfectly honest, in the following situation: if you tell the truth to your friend, he will be devastated forever. He will surely go into a deep depression that will probably lead him to commit suicide. On the other hand, if you lie, there are no adverse effects. Your lying to your friend will prejudice nobody. Lying will make you feel bad, unethical, and will go against all your principles, your morality and your religion. Life is testing you. What do you do? I am absolutely sure of what I would do in such situation. I'm a very practical person confronted with a practical problem. The benefit of lying much outweighs the inconveniences of telling the truth. Though I hate lying and avoid it because it is against my nature, I would act contrary to my basic principles, morality and normal behavior. Friendship requires that I stand ready to do something that will hurt me in order to help my friend. I would feel torn and devastated for a while, but not on the long run, for I would have done what was sensible and right in the circumstances. There is a principle that supersedes all other factors in such situation. When facing a problem of this kind, I revert to my own judgment and conscience. It becomes obvious to me that the best thing to do is to refrain from saying a truth that would create so much damage, while, on the other hand, the lie I have to utter would remain without consequence. What I just so awkwardly expressed above is the basis of morality. We are imperfect learning entities. Mother Nature has created problems for us to solve. Mother Nature doesn't expect us to be perfect. She only requires that we show good judgment and act the best we can in difficult situations. You are in a position to devastate a friend or devastate yourself, or cope and make the best of a situation. Don't be shocked by my decision. I'm not violating a moral principle. I am acting in the best interests of all concerned, and that is exactly what should prevail. If you ponder the situation, you will find many occasions in life where you will be placed in a difficult situation. You will have to choose between honesty, fidelity, stubbornness, love and whatnot. The problem then is real. The master wants to know what you are ready to do in the circumstances he created specially for you. If a lie would save the life of the person you love most on earth while being convinced it would have no adverse effect on anybody else, would you express it? If the answer is no, I am not sure you can differentiate good and bad, and I beg you to devote more efforts to understand the extraordinary lesson life is trying to teach you. If you think that Mother Nature is asking you to choose between killing your child or lie because nature is only testing your understanding of your role. Do your best in life and don't expect perfection from yourself or others. Don't poison your life with trivial things. Forgive yourself and forgive others for not being perfect. You will never reach perfection on earth. For such a high goal you will have to switch to a different college. The Barometer of Happiness. Measure your performances in any field. How do you rate your personality? Your family life? Your overall success? Your financial evolution? Your health? Your performance at work? If you have not done it lately, the exercise is a must. It will evidence your strength and your soft spots, and most important, the characteristic you should endeavor to improve. This barometer is intended to measure your feelings by yourself. It measures your situation as per your personal standards and situation. Because it unveils your own feelings and appreciation, I consider this little test as the conclusion of your introspection and the foundation of your future. 50 is not a standard, it does not represent the average or median happiness of the population. A measure of 10 is the expression of a very unhappy general situation. 75 is very good, while 100 is a state of bliss, a perfect happiness, and nothing could make you happier. I would guess you're seriously in love and living in a bubble that, unfortunately, will burst or slowly deflate with the passage of time. It is unthinkable that a human being spends his whole life being just perfectly happy. Unhappiness bar happiness 0 5 10 20 30 40 50 60 70 80 90 100. Use the models provided here to draw barometers on any subject you wish. Remember, being happy, satisfied and content is your life's goal. Are you satisfied or not with your performance? Make the point and face the reality without undue emotion. Then see if you have the desire and the intention to do something about situations that require some correction. There is no limit to your capacity to assess yourself and improve some aspect of your life, your degree of happiness, and your contribution to someone else's happiness. Use the opportunity to wish your fellow creatures more happiness, act accordingly, and you will be rewarded with more joy yourself. Some people are thoroughly baffled by notions of success and happiness. They confuse quality with quantity. They seem to think that the more one owns the happier he is. To them, success, happiness and performance are synonyms. This is a dangerous trap. Don't be greedy. Eating too much food, even of the best quality, can be as dangerous as not eating enough. The quantity of elements needed to satisfy a body and brain varies with each person. Avoid mimicking your neighbor. His needs and tolerances are different from yours. The reasons for your coming to this school called Earth is different from any other living being. And so, your personal needs are also different. Forget the idea that what is good for someone else is also good for you and vice versa. Your profound reasons for improving your abilities match no one else's. You are unique, you are one of a kind. Most people derive great satisfaction in developing their intellectual faculties with the goal of gaining a better understanding of life. They intend to use this additional intelligence to become famous, more beautiful, wealthier, more powerful. It is quite acceptable to satisfy our needs and revel in our passions, but be careful not to fall into a trap like this one. An interviewer once said to me, "Your technique must not be very successful, for I realize that you have not succeeded in ridding yourself of your hearing problem." Which left me speechless. This person didn't understand how life works. She assumed that I must have everything I dream of to successful and happy. I don't see it that way at all. I will never get everything I long for. If it was to be otherwise, as an imperfect human, I should be totally without hope. The state of human being implies that one has limitations. Nobody can get everything he can dream of. If this were not so, we would cease to be human and transform into gods. Then we could very well think of becoming the only god and feel loneliness and isolation for eternity. The main question doesn't refer to what one owns but if one is happy with his situation. Nobody can test your level of success and happiness without your participation. It has nothing to do with your level of living, your influence, your friendliness, your celebrity, your rank in society, the apartment you live in, the value of the car you drive, or anybody's assessment about you. Don't let yourself be dragged in the spiral of fashionable circles with the hope that it will bring you happiness. If you're not made for that, you will find yourself so busy trying to keep up that you will feel very uncomfortable. What is bliss to one can be hell to another. Not everybody would be happy under the limelight of fame. While a number of us cannot find happiness without being seen on TV and quoted in the papers, most of us do prefer a calm and peaceful place rather than a public stage. Reality has many faces. It is not the same to us all. Whatever you do, do it keeping two things in mind: A. Happiness for you. B. Happiness for others. Associating the ultimate goal to your daily acts will help you avoid serious mistakes. Many people rebel against the notion of spreading happiness around. They don't understand the basic principle. Normal happy people do spread happiness around naturally. They radiate rays of pleasure, peace, and happiness. On the contrary, unhappy, unsatisfied and frustrated people emit bad vibrations and create violence and difficulties. A good, decent and happy person does disseminate good feelings around even if she is completely ignorant of the fact. Just think of what a smile can do and you will understand what dealing happiness around means for you and those around you. Get into the habit of doing it intentionally and you will benefit twice as much. Let's end this chapter with the last bit of mundane sense. One doesn't measure success comparing with others but rather with himself. What would the situation have been if you had not done what you have? If at ball game of any type, one used to bat for 125 and now managed to score 150, he returns home with a great elation in his heart because he feels he is improving. Champs do regularly bat for a much higher average, but many return home feeling disappointed that their life is meaningless. One who is endowed with more talent needs to score much better to feel successful and find happiness. The bonds that link our parts together. We have already imagined how cosmic objects are formed. Let's now look at man and try to understand why all our parts stick together. No particle is exactly free. It is necessarily part of an organized system. Before our formation, all our components were parts of another creation. Why did they detach themselves from that organism to associate with ours? The answer is evolution. In the very same way, our bodies will terminate their current lives and associate with other parts of creation. Whether as leading entity or as a junior associate will be determined depending in many factors that will vary for each of us. It is easy for a human to realize that there is a force that binds all our components together, though that force remains unidentified. Each human being is made of billions and billions of elementary particles clinging to one another. At one point, the process of growing stops, leaving the organism free to continue its life as a mature creation. Later, the reverse process comes into action and plays its role until the moment comes when all particles that had associated with the body get free and move out to carry on their separate mission. What is that force that attracted all the particles required to build men? How come they were free to be used in our composition, and why will they, one day, part from us and join another organism? Why has the elusive intelligence that presided over our formation made us temporal? Is it a use and discard concept as some thinks of? Why does that powerful force that firmly held billions of particles together give up after 50, 70 or 100 years? Why does that force keep an interest in our organism only while it is living as a human being, abandoning us afterwards? The answer to these all similar questions is always the same: evolution. No creation, whatever its form, lasts forever. Man, as every other part of this creation must move ahead. You and I must work positively to our future well-being. This planet is our school. Nature is our teacher. Just like in this life, the best students will have a better chance of getting the best jobs in their next assignment. One must realize that the various systems composing this world are copies of larger systems, one inside the other, culminating only with the ultimate one that is the universe. As any good parent, Lady Nature wants you to grow in strength, intelligence, and wisdom. However, remember the essential: this teacher of yours will never ask for more than you can give. The ultimate measure used to rate your performance refers essentially to the efforts devoted to complete your task and takes into account the talents you were afforded when you were born. Unaltered electronic-only copying and distribution for personal and non-commercial use is authorized without limitation. Formal disclaimer. I, the author of this e-book, offer no professional services to the general public or otherwise, and more specifically, no medical, psychological or any other type of services or counseling that are, by statute or otherwise, restricted to certified professionals. Considering that people who cannot assume responsibility for their own fate create the first barrier towards improving their lives, considering the propensity of an always growing segment of the Western population to discharge on providers of all sorts of services or products their own personal obligations and make outrageous financial claims where their lack of courage and/or proper care is involved. I wish to make it clear that I offer no guarantee of any kind whatsoever. To the exception of this provision, no part or any of the texts here published can be construed as a formal declaration bearing any legal value or liability. If you are not in a position to properly evaluate the risks associated with mental or physical exercise, consult your psychologist, your psychiatrist, your doctor, your attorney at law, your accountant, the police and anybody in a position to help you, or just ignore the existence of this work. I or anyone associated in any manner or form in this actual venture, do not guarantee any result. We assume no liabilities for lack of result, inconvenience or damage derived from our opinions or the exercises suggested. We also, individually and collectively, deny and disclaim any responsibility of any type from any potential damage you may claim arising out of any of our material opinions, recommendations, exercises or acts, unless you prove us grossly negligent, malignant or acting out of bad faith. We insist, if in doubt, consult a professional of your choice, capable of helping you sort out what is proper and/or improper for you. Comments: Lenberg@videotron.car